the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151. What do you think? On the pitch black sea, the waves a little farther away have become like giant beasts that choose to devour people, and a small boat seems to be powerlessly moving forward in it, just seemingly powerless. In fact, on this small boat, the two wooden oars turned very fast, making it not too slow. Old man, your oars are spinning like a motor. There is no supernatural atmosphere at all. You reminded on the boat point hearing Eminem's words. Gissy turned his head. In fact, he turned his whole body to reveal only 3 empty faces. Seeing that Eminem still didn't look scared, Gissy said, "Let's show you the way." Obviously, it has also discovered that Eminem is very courageous, so since the other party dared to ignore all kinds of weirdness and came to the appointment at this time, it already meant that he was mentally prepared in advance. "You keep going to there. Do you still want me to point you in the direction?" Eminem asked tentatively. Point originally, Eminem thought that this ghost must be the Pokémon of the warrior who set off that year, but if this is the case, why does it need to guide the way by itself? Where do you think are you pointing at? Guic sneered, but did not answer directly. Point and Eminem gradually had a headache, feeling like he had been blown by the wind for a long time. Point fortunately, at this moment, the fire was lit again in Eminem's spirit, which eased the pain in his brain from the blowing. Point at this time, Eminem also understood that he used his spirituality to stimulate what should be the bandage left by a 1,000-year-old girl, and temporarily gained the ability to perceive time ripples. Point however, this ability is overdrawing Eminem's body or energy. Fortunately, there is inextinguishable flame, which constantly restores Eminem's energy and weakens the negative effects. From this point of view, apart from Eminem, it is not impossible to find a second person who can perceive this direction. After all, there are so many trainers with special abilities, but it is definitely not easy to find. Point after a long time, under Eminem's guidance, the boat came to a sea area, not yet within the scope of the storm, or was the storm falls. Eminem always felt that the distance from Maiden Gorge Port was getting farther and farther, but the storm area didn't seem to be getting closer. At this time, the lights of the port could hardly be seen. It seems to be here. No matter which direction you go, the wind blows from here, Eminem said, and immediately pulled off the straps on his head. Point what I felt before was not the real wind, but the precursor to the emergence of time ripples. For Eminem, the burden is still a bit heavy. It's about time, Gissy said, looking at the dark sea at this moment. Point there are still 24 hours left before the millennium. Originally, Eminem thought that those soldiers who failed to go back died in battle on a small island, but now it seems on the sea. At this moment, Eminem found that the surrounding time and space were distorted. Then, in a whirlwind, Eminem found that the place he was in had completely changed. Point now, he really came to a small island, and there was a moon hanging in the sky. Emma couldn't see the moon because of the cloudy sky above the sea. Here it's Eminem was puzzled and suddenly found something even more surprising. Point the ghost beside him also disappeared. No, instead of disappearing, but turning into a human. On the small island, there is another person wearing a battle armor next to Eminem. Although the other person has not spoken yet, but looking at his temperament, Eminem feels that he is the ghost just now. Eminem looked at his armor a few more times at this time. It is indeed somewhat similar to the ancient armor that I saw in the exhibition when I was in Golden City. Point sensing Eminem's eyes on his battle armor, the other party said with a proud look, "Heh, unlike those Pokémon battles you are now playing around with, we really know how to command Pokémon." Attacking the opponent's trainer. "Ah, you a human?" Eminem felt a little confused. Point is there really such a thing as human souls will become ghost type Pokémon? As for the current situation, Eminem has already made some guesses. Maybe it is the ripple of time that made him temporarily travel in this world. Traveling through time is far more reasonable than people's dead souls will become ghost type Pokémon. After all, the time elf Shrabi and the time dragon Dialuka are both mythical beasts related to the power of time, and there are many legends about them, among which there is no lack of space-time travel. However, ghost-type Pokémon are also hatched from eggs, but the existence of eggs is different. This is a widely accepted axiom in the Pokémon world. The soldier suspected of ghosts in front of him was about to say something, but at this moment, there was a sound of footsteps. I saw that he immediately looked nervous, and then pushed him into the grass beside him, and reminded, hide. Then, he pretended that everything was normal, and looked in the direction of the footsteps. Emu didn't know what happened, so he just hid it as he did, and looked over there quietly, walking overward too. Looking at the armor they were wearing, they knew that they were much lower than the ghost warrior, Master Lin. The password. The two young men looked dull, fast, as the wind. The ghost soldier said coldly. After hearing this, the two young men walked away dully, as if they were on patrol. After walking away, the ghost soldier called Master Lin, motioned for Eminem to come out. What's going on here? We went back to 1,000 years ago. Eminem asked wonderingly. No, it's here. It's been closed for 1,000 years. The warrior Gissy said, and motioned Eminem to follow him. Closed? What do you mean? 1,000 years ago. Wait, let's not talk about that. How did you become a ghost? Eminem was still wondering about this matter. Forest. After all, there are too many stories about coveting the power of divine beasts, looking for divine beasts, and even trying to control them, and in the end they brought disasters on themselves. There are too many more of you, and less of you. Eminem will become a ghost for people more interested. Do you know which clan we are? Lin first looked at this impolite guy angrily, and then thought that there was no other candidate, so he asked helplessly, the Lin family? You guessed it. Didn't the other party call him Master Lin just now? After being speechless for a while, the other party said, Lin, my name. We are the Kato clan. Only. Then did Armu show a sudden look. That's right, they all belong to the same family. If the surname is Lin, wouldn't it be indistinguishable to call them Master Lin? Seeing Armu's expression, he thought that Armu knew the Kato clan, so he asked a little proudly, do you still remember the unique skills of the Kato clan? The unique skill of the Kato family? Amu was taken aback when he heard this, then looked strange, moved the corner of his mouth, but didn't say anything. Seeing Emu's expression, Lin also wondered for a while. Of course it's spiritualization technique. What do you think? Chapter 150 To the Truth. 1,000 years ago, I also thought it was spiritualization art. Ha ha ha. Amu laughed awkwardly. But when it comes to spiritualization art, Eminem really has an impression. This is the secret technique of Katodan in Naruto, right? It's just that no one else seems to be. It seems that the Kato family was cut off with Kato's death in the Ninja Village era, and there may be descendants in the blood, but there is no inheritance. Lin Duo glanced at him twice, and always felt that this guy didn't think of anything good, but now he can only rely on him. Spiritualization can turn you into ghosts? Amu said in surprise. That's right, this is a special ability of our family, which can turn our souls into ghost type Pokémon, but there are only a very small number of strong. In your words, at least a king level trainer. It is possible success. Come with me first, Lin said, leading the way for Eminem first. So, you have really existed for 1,000 years? Eminem asked the most concerned question. 1,000 years apart from mythical beasts, there are only some special Pokémon that can be reached through long-term dormancy, right? It can be said, but there are only these 3 days every year, and I'm awake. Lin's voice was very cold. Sober? When you're not sober. Eminem inexplicably thought of the two young men just now, because of some things, we have been trapped in these 3 days 1,000 years ago. In fact, we have already died. Lin said frankly. Now it's not that Eminem has traveled to thousands of years ago, but has come to the gap between the ripples of time. What did you guys do? Was Rabbi trapped you here? Amu asked suspiciously. After a moment of silence, Lin said, no, it's our own greed. At this time, Lin took Eminem to the entrance of a cave, and he swept away the surrounding vegetation, so that the two could come in. It's safe here for the time being. Let's wait for dawn. There is still 1 day left, Lin said calmly. After seeing Amu coming in, He still looked at him questioningly, and Lin also understood that it would be difficult for Armu to cooperate if he didn't speak clearly. And there is nothing more to say. 1,000 years ago, the Kato family, who were especially compatible with the ghost type Pokémon, was feared and rejected by other families because of the particularity of the ghost type Pokémon. But it was undeniably powerful. At this time, a baby girl was born in the family, who was born able to perceive the existence of time ripples. Time ripples, a special force field, in which Rabbi will replenish energy, and some people who enter by mistake will be affected by it. Its influence will have the ability to predict the future. The baby girl gradually grew up and became the prototype of Kato Aoi, the Millennium Girl. Aoi Kato's ability made the Kato family have ambitions for Rabbi. In addition, the old patriarch of the Kato clan died in battle at that time, and the new patriarch Kato Kase was young and eager to take revenge. Finally, when Kato Aoi sensed the next time ripple appeared, and was sure that it was very close to the territory of the Kato clan, he made up his mind to put all one's eggs in one basket, because if the time ripple is not absorbed by Celebi, it will not be able to release the transformed life energy, and it will often cause vitality to wither in one place. Therefore, whether it is Kato Aoi or most of the fighters of the Kato clan, they all thought that the patriarch wanted to find Rabbi and prayed to it for power, making Kato Aoi the owner of the power of the beast, and Kato Aoi himself was left in the port waiting. However, in fact, Kato Kase wanted to sneak attack on Celebi while absorbing time ripple, forcefully capture Celebi, and possess the power of time ripple. Kato Kase only told Katolin and Kato Fire of this plan. Even Kato Shan, who was also able to use spiritualization at that time and was one of the 4 heavenly king trainers of the Kato clan, didn't know about it. The power of the beast is very strong. It can almost be considered that it is a god in a broad sense. However, even in modern times, there are many mysterious organizations that are targeting sacred beasts. Human beings will never lack individuals who dare to think and do, but the fate of the Kato clan is the same as that of the vast majority of people who dare to take the idea of divine beasts. Apparently Kato Kase's plan didn't come true and suffered a serious setback at the first step. The rabbi who looks cute and is easy to bully in the theater version in this world, even if he is absorbing time ripples, when it is time, it is not so easy to sneak attack. Kato-san, who discovered their plan, replaced the sacrifice they had prepared for the rabbi with something he didn't know. Thinking about it now, thanks to Kato Shan's exchange. Otherwise, with the power of Rabbi, their chances of success would still be slim, and it would just cause the entire Kato clan's hometown to wither away. Even Katolin recalled the situation back then, and suspected that they were also deceived. The sacrifice used to yin the rabbi was borrowed from another ghost family, and it was likely that they were left behind. The result of their sneak attack is only to make the ripples of time confused. This not only prevented Rabishi from absorbing the complete ripples of time, but also caused the sea area to remain silent for a long time, and all the fighters of the Kato clan fell into a chaotic time. However, it seems that Rabbi was appeased by the sacrifice exchanged by Kato Mountain, so they were not killed. However, for the entire millennium that followed, they couldn't get rid of the disordered time and kept repeating these 3 days, either Rabbi during a surprise attack or Rabbi when preparing for a surprise attack. In the beginning, everyone's memories were reset again and again with the chaotic time until their Pokémon had died of old age, and they didn't realize this. They would only reshape in memory. I only have 2 Pokémon partners. I only have 1 Pokémon partner. I have no partners. I came by myself. Only some people who have a high bond with Pokémon gradually discovered the existence of the cycle by gradually recalling why did my partner disappear. Katabayashi is one of them. When he was about to fight alone, he unintentionally called out his Genji-UI's name, and then gradually understood something. As long as he leaves this island at this time, he will be rested in peace. His body only exists in the cracks of time. As long as he steps out of here, he will be wiped out. But the ghost of the ghost department will not. The ripples of time here appear once in 1,000 years, but there will be some small fluctuations every year, and when he uses the spiritualization technique, incarnates as a ghost, and takes advantage of this small fluctuation to go out. Only then did Katolin realize that hundreds of years had passed. It turned out that when the ripples of time fluctuated abnormally, AOI Kato discovered the truth and calmed down Rabbi's anger. After all, Rabbi was a very good-tempered beast. Kato AOI assisted Rabbi to recollect the power of time ripple, which brought vitality back here. However, this island fell into the cracks of time and failed to recover. Afterwards, in order to guide them back, Kato AOI disregarded Rabbi's stop, fully mobilized her own power, and resonated with the ripples of time until she was backlashed and turned into a stone. Kato AOI does not know spiritualization technique, but Katolin can feel that her soul is still there. In order to maintain her existence, Katabayashi did not choose to rest in peace alone, but appeared in Maiden Gorge every year, deepening people's impression of Millennium Girl again and again. Which is the best accumulation of soul point, because of the concealment at the beginning. Katolin felt ashamed of Kato AOI, so he didn't reveal his identity, as if he was just an ordinary ghost, but he vaguely felt Kato AOI should know everything, but he didn't say it. Chapter 153 Purpose. Shrabi, is he so strong? Amu said with emotion. Although it has long been discovered that in the public impression of this world, even those cute beasts have powerful power, far from being as easy to bully as in the original work, but when he found the example, Eminem still endured it. I can't help but sigh. That's right. According to your current classification, that rabbi had the strength above the great heaven leaking thousands of years ago, and it was after being attacked. Lin said and looked at Eminem with some warning. I'm afraid that this guy will be blinded by greed like himself and others back then. But after careful observation, Lin found that Eminem was just ordinary curiosity and had no greed at all. Of course not. After all, as long as Eminem improves the sequence of the path of God, he can gradually become stronger. For Eminem, the meaning of obtaining the follower of the beast is similar to winning the championship of the league championship. It is just a condition for acting. It is of course best to be eyes by the divine beast. If not, no need to take risks either. So, you want everyone to rest in peace now? Amu asked Lin about his purpose. Lin was silent for a long time, then looked at the strap in Eminem's hand and said, that's right, it's been too long. When he saw the strap, he knew that this was also Kato AOI's wish. Is there any obstacle? Eminem asked further. Besides me, Kato K's and Kato Ho are the ones who are awake now. No, they shouldn't be considered sober either. Or they have been completely blinded by greed. They didn't break the cycle, but I use this time and time again to practice, and I want to take advantage of the ripples of time to really reappear and attack Rabbi again. Katolin said, shaking his head helplessly. Time ripples will appear periodically around the world, and the specific reason is unknown. And Celebi is like the restorer of time ripples, always absorbing this part of abnormal time energy when time ripples appear, and then releasing vitality. This time ripple here will appear once every 1,000 years. As for what appeared in the cycle of 3 days before, it was just a phantom of time. Only this time, when the ripples of time really reappear, the real Karabi will come again. Amu gave him a deep look. In fact, it's not just Kato K's and Kato Fire. The Katolin in front of him is not completely normal, otherwise he would not be stubborn to keep Kato AOI's soul from completely dissipating. Until now the other party used Eminem's hand to hint him. He suddenly realized, it's been too long. What about Kato-san? He's the only one who can't do it? Eminem asked with some doubts. Isn't there 4 king level trainers? Why is he the only one who hasn't recovered? No, he should be the first one to recover. When I woke up, he was no longer there. Because he is AOI's older brother, and he has a different personality. Well, we were hiding it from him until the last moment. But he still found out. Or maybe AOI discovered something, and reminded him in advance, that he still wanted to stop us. Unfortunately, we were already possessed by demons at that time, so we blamed him for meddling. It is always easier to wake up who is not blinded by greed. Lin sighed again. Since he is not here, that is to say, Kato-san should have chosen to rest in peace after waking up, instead of continuing to cycle stubbornly like them. Here, there are no more Pokémon, right? Mew confirmed to Kato-san again. Point. If it's a battle between Ghost Kings, then it's pointless to have one more Amu. That's right. Our partners are gone. But Patriarch Feng and Huo can also transform into ghosts. Although the other clansmen haven't come to their senses, they are able to transform into ghosts after repeated drills. But it's not strong. That's what you call now, at the elite level, a total of 127 people. Lin confessed to Eminem. Why do Pokémon disappear with the passage of time, but humans do not disappear until their bodies leave here? Eminem wondered. Point. In the cracks formed by time ripples, Pokémon are still bound by time and disappear after a period of time, while humans seem to be physically unaffected, as if time has really stopped, and only when they leave here can they communicate with the outside world. Time synchronization. This is beyond my comprehension. Lin obviously didn't have much research on these. Then what do you need me to do? If there are too many elite level combat powers, it will be very dangerous for me, let alone a super ghost as strong as you. There are 2 of them? Amu asked out of the most critical. You don't need to fight them. I'll hold them back. You just need to remind the rabbi what happened here when he appears. Lin said seriously. Really? Amu asked again worriedly. Some weak ghosts may approach you, but you have the power of Phoenix King to disperse them. Lin was obviously not as confident as he said. Point. But Eminem probably understood what he meant after all. Katolin didn't think that the rabbi could succeed in this sneak attack, and 1,000 years have passed, and nothing can be changed now. He just thinks that they have crazy. It is impossible to subdue Rabbi, but it may prevent Rabbi from absorbing time ripples normally, which will cause this gap to continue to exist. From a selfish point of view, what Lin is more worried about is that they might be the Walking Dead for another 1,000 years. When he saw the strap in Eminem's hand, he already understood that this was AOI's hint to himself. It's been long enough. Point. From a righteous point of view, Celebi failed to absorb the ripples of time normally, which may cause the surrounding vitality to wither. So when the time comes, he will hold Kato K's and Kato Fire. And then Eminem will take the opportunity to notify and appease Rabbi Shi at this time. And then Rabbi Shi will normally absorb this ripple of time and heal the cracks in time. If it's just to meet Rabbi, that's fine. Eminem agreed, and then asked, so what should I do next? At this time tomorrow, time ripples will appear in the center of the island. At that time, the rabbi will appear, and they will be ambushing around. You pretend to be one of us first, and when the rabbi appears, show up. Well, that's it. Linyu said more and more to comfort himself. Eminem looked at him questioningly. Obviously Katolin didn't have any detailed plans. Even he wasn't sure if what would happen tomorrow would be the same as it was 1,000 years ago. He has only seen Time Ripple and Shirabi once. Where are Kato K's and Kato Fire? Haven't they turned into ghosts and gone out? Eminem decided it was better to plan by himself. In order to maintain their sanity, they were also sleeping most of the time, but they should be awake now. As for going out, I was determined to disappear. After I went out, I found that when the spirit transformed into a ghost state, they could move outside. I don't want to disappear at all, and I should have thought that I, like the mountain, have already disappeared. In recent years, Lin has only appeared awake in a ghostly state for 3 days a year, and he was not discovered by Kato K's and Kato Fire when he was asleep. As for the other members of the Kato family, they are all the same as the AI now, and they will not be surprised to see Lin. They will only execute orders like Walking Dead. Chapter 154. Password. Two young men with expressionless faces asked Eminem, who was wearing a strap and armor in front of him. Zoo. Rulin. Eminem stared at the two of them nervously. However, after the other party heard the correct password today, they just passed by and walked away. Katolin came out from the side at this time, and the armor on his body had already been put on Eminem. This is what Eminem is going to try. Look at these Walking Dead. Can you tell if there is an extra outsider? If found, Eminem will immediately release the Pokémon and kill the mouth with. Katolin. It seems that it is very easy to get in. The premise is that only 2 people are sober. Eminem judged. At the same time, Amu patted his armor and said, can you give this armor to me later? Eminem could tell at the first glance that Katabayashi's armor was made of the carapace that retreated from the evolution of Shaquillus. Not only can it defend against the attacks of Pokémon, but it is also a raw material necessary for the evolution of ironclad Tyrannosaurus. We have the custom of being buried in armor. Lin resolutely refused and stared at the armor on Eminem's body, as if considering whether to take it off immediately. When you reach the pure land of ultimate bliss, there must be a world without fighting. You will be ridiculed if you are still wearing armor. You persuaded without giving up. It's useless to give it to you. I'm afraid, as long as you leave the time gap, this armor will decay instantly. Lin emphasized. Anyway, I'll give it to me, and we'll talk about it later. Eminem said as he patted the armor on his body, as if he was binding point Katabayashi. At this moment, there was a sudden flash around, as if the lights were turned off, and then turned on again immediately. This is time. Ripples have begun to appear. Katolin said calmly, then, let's split up. Eminem also tried to calm himself down. Katolin will go to stop the other two spiritualists of Kato's family. Although they are ghosts, their strength may be inferior to that of ordinary heavenly kings according to Katolin. Thousands of years ago, their spiritualization technique was far from so strong. At most it was equivalent to 40 or 50 levels of ghosts, and the more important role was to use spiritualization technique communicate with ghost type Pokémon instead of fighting directly. However, perhaps because of the passage of 1,000 years, or perhaps because of the influence of time ripples, the ghosts they incarnated became stronger, even stronger than their ace Pokémon back then. But they can also use spiritualization technique to transform into ghosts of level 40 or 50. Then Eminem relied on the straps of the Kato family, as well as the battle armor, and followed the chaos all the way to the ambush location. That is, the other people were all chaotic, otherwise they should have discovered that a guy who didn't know. Wearing a very high level armor, Eminem's spirituality arouses the power in the straps left by AOI, enabling him to feel the specific location and formation of the ripples of time. However, after getting really close, Eminem found that he couldn't hide anymore, because the other Walking Dead have already turned into ghosts at this time, with bodies throwing all the way. In this case, Eminem continues to keep his body close, which is very conspicuous. Under the questioning eyes of two ghosts, Armu took another 2 steps towards the direction of the ripples of time, and found several ghosts floating around, all of them staring at him directly. So Armu had no choice but to move forward. Retreated. The time ripple hasn't appeared yet, and Lin hasn't done anything yet, so Eminem can wait a little longer. The sky gradually became dark and uncertain, and the day and night echoed each other like a quarrel. It's not time yet. No, what time are we talking about now? Eminem immediately realized that the time here was out of order regardless of whether other ghosts are used to seeing it or not. Eminem rushed in the direction of the ripples of time. Zurulin, Zurulin, Zurulin. Armu looked at the sign of the day while running. Those who didn't know thought Eminem was calling someone named Zurulin to come out and play. A group of ghosts were also fooled. After all, they were unconscious at first, and now they looked at this strange person in confusion and ran over while shouting coded commands at the same time. A majestic battle sound came. Armu looked up and saw 3 ghosts floating in the air at this moment, fighting together. They were all ghosts, but they all had the aura of ghost kings. You make a move to open the door of ghosts, and I move 100 ghosts at night. Lin, how could you? What are you going to do? Wind, that's enough. Damn. Do you want to stop me? Get out of the way. HUO, don't you understand? It's already past. It's been 1,000 years. Our era is over. It's you who don't understand. As long as you catch Rabbi, we know I can travel through time and space, go back 1,000 years ago, and stop everything. Huh? What did you say? You actually are. Mew suddenly discovered that there was good news. I thought that Lin was going to fight 2 against 1, but now it seems that the 2 of them do not seem to be of the same mind. While running, Armu suddenly felt his feet go soft, and then his whole body became cold. Gilululu. Armu didn't know what happened. He appeared in the sea in an instant, and after taking a few sips of water, he returned to the island in an instant. The sudden change of time and space caught Eminem off guard. and lost his balance and fell point. Before I could stand up, I suddenly felt like I was submerged in seawater again. If you repeat it, you will be tormented enough. Cough. Cough cough. Vomit. Amu lay on the grass and spit. Point. He and Lin didn't expect that the time and space around Time Ripple would be so unstable. Who? At this moment, a shout came. Point. Amu heard the words and quickly shouted, "My own man. Zurulin. Huh? Did you remember the date wrong?" The visitor looked at Eminem inexplicably. Point. Only then did Amu realize that it was actually a person walking towards him. Immediately, both Eminem and the other party discovered the battle armor the other party was wearing was very advanced. At the same time, Eminem was surprised to find that there was a Pokémon beside him. Shouldn't there be no Pokémon? What Pokémon is this? It looks like it is covered with a layer of rags, pretending to be a doll, but from some holes, it can be seen that there is dark ghost energy inside. Mystery Q. Eminem realized that it was Mimikyu, the Mimikyu of this world. Not all of them wear Pikachu dolls, and it is their own hobby to want to wear what they want. Point. For example, the one in front of me is wearing an awkward puppet that looks like a pig. At this time, the other party looked at Eminem with more suspicion and asked a little more seriously, "Password. Chapter 155 Mountain." Eminem thought for 3 seconds, convinced that he had crossed over. Generally speaking, the side effects of being close to time ripples should not include time and space travel. This is not only Catolin's judgment, but also the current public opinion. Point. But after all, human beings' understanding of time ripples is still very shallow, and it's not like it didn't happen in the original work like time travel or something. Looking at the person in front of him who was asking for his password, Amu moved his mouth and gritted his teeth. Aggression like fire. The password of Kato's house at this time should be changing every day. Amu only knows that that day is Zurulin, and he also heard Catolin's answer the day before is, "I can take a gamble." Huh. The other party was about to count something with his fingers, as if he was also confused. Point. However, when Eminem heard the other party's questioning, he instinctively corrected, "It's as immovable as a mountain. There must be one of them, right?" Unexpectedly, the other party's expression changed at this time, and then he stopped counting and directly pulled out the dagger at his waist, pointing at Eminem. At the same time, the Mimikyu beside him also turned into a knife made of ghost type energy at this time and swiped towards Ambi. "Who are you?" the other party asked coldly. Point. This person looks young, just like a young man. Judging by the battle armor he is wearing, he should not be a young man. Eminem even suspects that he is Kato-san or Kato-ho. The patriarch Kato-K's can't be so unreliable, can he? But this one who seems unreliable is about to see through Eminem at this time. I just misremembered the date," Eminem explained bravely. Point. However, misremember the date. The code word in the 4th line is the glowing bud that I, a handsome guy, thought of. How can you remember it wrongly so that you can remember immovable as a mountain? Ha ha ha. Kato-shan's face was full. Said proudly. Point. Slim Shady, what the hell? Why only your password is not a series? Who? At this time, there was another sound of footsteps, and Eminem was stretching his hand to his waist, and when he was about to release the Pokémon in the next moment, "Hush." Kato-shan gestured, and then pulled the surrounding bushes to block Eminem. Point. Although Amu didn't know why, but seeing the other party's reaction, he didn't act immediately. Master Shan. 2 young men who came on patrol recognized this person. "Well, the password?" Kato-san asked confidently. "Have you forgotten the date again?" Cough cough. "I mean, Zurulin." Zio smiled and replied immediately, after being glared at by Kato-san. Point. Didn't I say it right from the beginning? Eminem complained silently. Point. After the 2 patrols left, Kato-shan turned his head and pushed aside the bushes that blocked Eminem, and then said apologetically, I'm sorry, so you were right. It's okay. You are also careful, so I'll go first." Eminem tentatively moved on. Point, but he was immediately interrupted by Kato-shan. "Asshole. Do you think I'm stupid? Who are you?" Eminem was a little confused about how to explain this matter. "AOI. Asked you to come?" Kato-san asked proactively. Amu was taken aback when he heard the words, and then found that Kato-san's eyes seemed to be on his forehead. Although Eminem didn't see the difference between Kato Aoi's strap and other people's straps from the appearance, but Kato-san obviously saw it from the appellation of the previous patrol. Eminem also confirmed the identity of the other party since he recognized the strap. This should be the reason why the other party just covered Eminem. I remembered what Katabayashi said before about Kato-san. That's right. Emma responded immediately. But at this time, Kato-san looked around Amu suspiciously, considering that the other party is a trainer at the level of a king. Although the mainstream at this time is the 3 Pokémon and the number is relatively small, but Amu thinks that if you really do it, I still had no chance of winning at all, so I didn't act rashly. Why? Are you wearing Kato-lin's Shakulas armor? Kato-san said in a puzzled tone. It was only then that Amu realized that his behavior was indeed suspicious. Could it be that he was sent by Kato Aoi and Kato-lin, but Kato Aoi didn't go out to sea with him, but Kato-lin was on the island? When the time comes for a confrontation, won't it be revealed? The reason is a bit complicated. Eminem was making up a story in his heart while hesitating whether to tell the truth. And Kato-san said to himself at this time, could it be that Aoi has taken a fancy to Ailin again? But before departure, he said that Afeng is more majestic and Ahuo is more handsome, and Aoi should lick Ailin. Cough cough. I'm not interested. Slim Shady. Thank you Ms. Aoi for being the king of the sea. However, if you want to tell you something secretly, of course it is Mr. Lin who will cooperate. Eminem said immediately. So, that's how it is. Kato-san tapped his palm, looking like it really makes sense. Seeing this, Amu just breathed a sigh of relief. So, Aoi asked you to come to me? Wait, then why didn't you know me in the first place? And who are you? You're not from our Kato clan, right? Kato-san asked a series of questions. It seems that it is not so easy to cheat. Actually, Aoi and I have known each other before, you understand? Eminem said I can also be a fish. Huh? You? No, your appearance is not good enough. You should tell the truth. Kato-san saw the flaws in Eminem's appearance. Score points. Slim Shady. Obviously Lin looks. That's all there is to it. After all, the whole family is a ghost trainer, and everyone is ghostly, like a weak little boy. At this moment, Eminem suddenly felt a gust of wind blowing towards his eyebrows. It's now. Has it traveled through such a perfect 1,000 years? What's wrong with you? Kato-san asked suspiciously. Amu saw that Kato-san didn't seem to know the truth at this time, so he pulled off the strap and said quickly, there is no time to explain. Kato-K's and the others' real purpose is to seal Rabbi Shi and absorb it by himself. The power of time ripples. And Shirabi is far stronger than you imagined. But at this moment, Eminem suddenly discovered that when he didn't have a strap, he could still feel the rhythm of time ripples. What kind of talent did he inexplicably awaken? Or, because I'm not a person of this time, Emu didn't have time to think about it. She just felt her brain hurt from being blown. What? Don't you want to offer a sacrifice to Rabbi? Wait, what's in that sacrifice? Hey, make it clear. Oops. Zeman, take him. Kato-san wanted to ask more questions, but because of the blowing of time ripples, Amu began to lose consciousness. Kato-san didn't know why, so he had to let Mimikyu carry Amu first, and then ran to the meeting place. Obviously Kato-san is also the type who likes to name Pokémon. Dang. Recommend a new Pokémon book, Invasion of Pokémon. I really just want to promote Pokémon PM promotion article. Daily travel direction. Warm Pokémon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Replacement. This is the Gowl Mask of the Uzumaki clan. Are you going to use this to seal the rabbi? These also have hypnotic powder. Those idiots. Not good. They're already here. Hey, wake up. It's too late. You hide here first. Mew was still in a trance at this time, but he could probably realize what happened. At this time, he seemed to be hidden by Kato-shan in the box where the sacrifices were originally placed. Then Armu had a headache and vaguely heard Kato-shan arguing with someone outside, including Kato-len's voice. Mountain. What are you doing here? What? Should I ask you guys? We are also for the Kato clan. You. Huh. Why are you wearing clothes too? You. Don't say inexplicable things. Well, Katabayashi 1,000 years ago is obviously the opposite now. Although Eminem was unconscious at this time, he still struggled and released the 6 Pokémon he was carrying. No matter what happens, it's better to have some self-preservation power. At this time, only Jenga, Pixie, Ditto, Naughty Thunderbolt, Cassie, Coconut Tree, 6 Pokémon were released, because I know that I have to face ghosts. And ghosts, I try to bring Pokémon with a high enough level. Plus the coconut tree of the superpower system don't look at the superpower system being restrained by the ghost system in terms of attributes. But in fact, when fighting, at least they are all mysterious forces, and they can still have a dozen, replaced by those elemental systems. Although there is no restraint relationship, but it is easy to be teased. Boss. Pippi called Eminem twice, and then quickly said, boss is not in the right condition, why don't we share the luggage? Slim. Shady, what programs has it been watching at Dr. Sakurage's institute recently? Wait a minute, there seems to be someone outside, not very friendly. What is this? A mask? It looks ugly. Huh. Okay, do you know this mask? How should it be used? Hey, wait, cover it with this. Your face is a bit small. Got it. Boom is here to wear it. Coffin. And I will serve as the atmosphere group for you. Eminem. Vaguely heard. What are they doing with the masks here? According to Kato-san, this should be the mask of the Uzumaki clan. Is that related to some sealing technique? If Eminem is sober, he will definitely tell them not to play indiscriminately, but now they can only let it go. If Eminem opens his eyes now, he will find, I saw that Boom was wearing a ghost mask at this time, and our men put it on his head. Afterwards, it was covered with a white cloth made from local materials. Our men's heads were slightly exposed, like a skull necklace worn by a ghost. There is also a ball of kelp on top of Boom's head, and Ake hidden in the kelp. At the same time, the coffin and the state of death's coffin is also in the white cloth at this time. Stretch out as many shadow hands as possible, prop up the arms, and make the body look swollen. In order to show their height, Pippi and Ghost Stone stacked our hats under our men, and a person held up one of our men's legs. At the same time, Genji UI controlled several will-o'-the-wisps and floated behind the huge ghost. The rehearsal here has just been completed, and there is already fighting outside. Seaman. Stop him, Kato. Shan barely held back Kato Feng and Kato Fire, but Kato Lin brought people here at this time, but only saw a ghost like the huge inflatable twisting doll that would be placed outside the mall when it opened. This is hateful. This is different from what you said. The bastard of the Whirlpool clan. Kato-Lin cursed. This must be a conspiracy of the Whirlpool clan. Otherwise, how could the Borogal mask activate by itself? Meng. Hold it. Kato-Lin commanded his Pokémon to delay the Uzumaki clan's followers, while commanding the clansmen to remove the other sacrifices first. They didn't have only one kind of preparation. In addition to the Gal mask, there are many berries in the offerings that the legendary rabbi likes to eat, but all of them are filled with hypnotic powder. Eminem vaguely felt that the box he was in seemed to have been moved away. And it was moving in the direction of the wind, and Katabayashi, the master of the combat power of 3 Heavenly King level Pokémon, is confronting Eminem's Pokémon in a serious manner. Pippi, Ghost Stone and the others also knew that if they really did it, they would be instantly killed, so they were just bluffing. The will-o'-the-wisps are getting more and more violent, and the kelp's hair is more and more fangs and claws under the power of thoughts. Under the light of the underworld, the head necklace is smiling evilly at this time, and the white cloth cover is shaking more and more terrifyingly, as if it is not a body, but countless animals. Tentacles. In fact, that's true. Facing the backhand of the Uzumaki clan who use the Yin Kato clan, Kato-Lin didn't dare to be careless at all. He just wanted to be able to delay. Since the opponent didn't make a move immediately, he also maintained his momentum and confronted it with sweat on his forehead. If Eminem saw this scene, he would definitely understand why his tone was so ambiguous when he talked about being overwhelmed by another ghost family 1,000 years later. Hey, wait, that can't be sent there. Zeman, be careful. Kato-san's voice came faintly amidst the sound of the battle point. However, it was clear that Kato-san could not break through, but the situation on his own side seemed to be stretched. Soon Armu felt that he had come to the very center where the ripples of time appeared, and I don't know if it was an illusion, but Armu felt that his discomfort was being relieved. I don't know if it's because I'm used to it, or because when the time ripples appear completely, it won't cause violent time-space fluctuations. When there was an ethereal chirping sound point at the same time, Eminem heard what seemed to be Kato-Kaze's voice. It seemed that Kato-san couldn't hold the two of them for a long time. Shirabi, thank you for coming to smooth the ripples in space-time, and bless my hometown. This is a sacrifice from our Kato family. Kato-Kaze shouted to Shirabi. Normally, after the rabbi absorbs the ripples of time, it will make the surroundings lively and rich. Kato-Kaze's words of gratitude are correct. When Rabbi's voice was a little puzzled, probably feeling something. The rabbi is very sensitive to battles. Even distant battles will attract its attention. At the same time, some Eminems were restored. In the box, I determined the approximate location of Rabbi by voice, and then stretched out my palm inside, activated animal sense, and communicated with Rabbi through the air. When Rabbi looked at the gift suspiciously, and Kato-Kazan thought he was discovered. At this time he quietly gestured to make the surrounding clansmen prepare for a forcible sneak attack. Chapter 157. Who are you? Is it a gift? Rabbi she was also very curious about why there was something communicating with him in the gift. Careful. They have been blinded by greed. Be careful of sneak attacks. Eminem quickly reminded. Your time is weird. Rabbi she seems to have discovered the time travel of Eminem. I just don't know what layer of crossing did it discover. At the same time, the sound of fighting suddenly came from outside. Rabbi she angrily discovered that there was an ambush around point, and in Shirabi's heart, the priority over anger is to stop them from doing things here. This will disturb the ripples of time that have not been smoothed out, which is very dangerous. It's a pity that the members of Kato's family didn't understand Rabbi Shi's meaning. At this moment, they only wanted to sneak attack and seal Rabbi Shi, but they didn't find any abnormality in Rabbi Shi's mood. Genji Dream Demon, Night Demon, Ecstasy Eye. A group of ghost-type Pokémon appeared in all directions at this time, and it was a meal of Shadow Ball and Shadow Claw. According to Rabbi, the ghost system restrains the superpower system. In theory, this is indeed the case. This is basic common sense. But another high-end common sense is that after level 100, the attributes and characteristics of Pokémon can all increase the level. The attributes of LV1 can already offset part of the restraint, and after reaching LV2, it is completely beyond the restraint of ordinary attributes as a divine beast. Even if he is not the one with the sole authority, Rabbi's own superpower plus grass attributes are no longer comparable to ordinary attributes. Moreover, super energy plus grass cannot summarize the attributes of Shirabi. Its attribute is time in essence, but it is superpower that drives time, and time is manifested as the spread of life and the bursting of vitality. It is expressed as grass. At this time, Eminem opened the box a little, peeked outside, and saw Rabbi is like an elf, with a small and delicate body, and his emerald green body exudes a faint fluorescence. But this small body has a lot of energy, faced with the shadow energy attack from all directions. At the beginning, Rabbi took a few hard hits unexpectedly, and then directly propped up the thick, light wall, and reflection wall. It should be light wall and reflection wall, right? However, the commonly used light wall or reflective wall is to lay some kind of force field around the body. When suffering a corresponding attack, this force field will offset part of the attack power, but the wall propped up by Rabbi is like the substance, and more importantly, Rabbi's wall resists both special attacks and physical attacks, using two skills at the same time. No, even a divine beast, at least a divine beast of Rabbi's level, should not be able to break the rule of skill use timing. Eminem suspects that the opponent has combined the two skills of reflecting wall and light wall. At this time, the thick and textured walls completely blocked the attacks from around, and then, I saw Rabbi's whole body glowing for a while, and then it seemed like a flashing version of Rabbi's phantom, splitting from Rabbi's body one by one, and immediately blending into the surrounding time and space point. The next moment, the surrounding ghost type Pokémon were inexplicably injured one by one. This is predict future. The ordinary, future foretelling, is to send the attack of the superpower system after a period of time. It is very powerful, but it is a test of prediction. Generally speaking, most Pokémon can't really predict the future after learning this trick, but to force the opponent to move and bind the target to a position where the attack is delayed. Only Hoodie and the like can really see some future scenes. As for Rabbi's future foretelling, he doesn't know what level it is or how much LV it is. After all, LV is just a value defined by human wishful thinking. In short, this future foretelling of Rabbi is the real attack from the future. A series of energized after images sneaked into time and attacked these ghost type Pokémon in the past, causing them to appear injured out of thin air. At this time point there were only 3 heaven leaking level Pokémon present, and they were still standing, but at this moment, Katoho and Katashan rushed over with other ghost type Pokémon of the king level. Wind. Hold on, Rabbi. Wait. Stop. Kato-san wants to stop all this, but he won't watch Shirabi kill the Kato family, although Shirabi didn't do this at first. But if Kato case continues to make trouble, there will definitely be casualties. At the same time, the time ripple became more and more unstable. What would happen if the time ripple was not absorbed by Celebi? Humans don't know either. When Rabbi saw this, he didn't care what these humans were doing, and immediately turned around and rushed to the center of time ripples. Be careful, Eminem yelled, jumping out of the box. I saw that Kato-Kazan didn't care about what would happen at this time and directly attacked time ripple and Shirabi in it. Rabishi's combat experience is obviously very poor, so he will be defenseless at this time. While being staggered in midair, the time ripple was also affected and distorted. Emu, who was also in the center of time ripples, felt a delay in his consciousness and the outside world, and everything around him seemed to slow down. Rabbi Shi's cry seemed extraordinarily long and deep at this moment. How are you? Eminem catches Rabbi, who staggers and falls down, and at the same time uses animal senses to inquire. Oops. Time ripple. Run away. Rabbi Shi was not injured and was still worried about time ripple. Can you solve? Eminem asked with some uncertainty. I am still a child. Slim Shady. The meaning is obvious. What will happen? Eminem asked quickly. If you leave it alone, here, not only this small island will be destroyed, but the surroundings will also become a dead silence where life cannot grow. Eminem suddenly realized history until now. It seems that nothing has changed. Perhaps the space-time rules of this world are. Listen to me. Don't be nervous, Shirabi. Try to calm down the abnormal time and space here first. Don't worry about the vital things. After that there will be a person, a woman, assisting you to restore this place to normal, except for this island. When Armu was having a headache, how to convince Shirabi to believe him? Shirabi took the initiative to ask, this is the future. Armu was taken aback when he heard the words and immediately realized, sure enough, Rabbi Shi can feel that his time is the future. Immediately, Eminem became worried again. In other words, how should I go back? Chapter 158 Return. Armu had just started to worry when he noticed a flicker around him. It was like turning off the lights and then turning them back on again. What's going on? Emma couldn't help but say out loud, when the time ripples completely subside, everyone and Pokémon will return to the original time. Rabbi said. It was only then that Armu discovered that Shirabi could also be proficient in telepathy, but the ability of animal sense used by Armu before made it feel novel, so he kept using animal sense to communicate. When Armu heard this, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and immediately reminded, by the way, these people will be trapped in the cracks of time, or 1,000 years has been a long time, but some of them are regretting. Some people have rested in peace, and some people have gone crazy. Or 1,000 years later, when the ripples of time reappear this time, Please remember not to be attacked by surprise, and remember to expand the time gap here, Eminem said. The whole person already felt a little stuck and dropped frames point at this time. Eminem is on a timeline, which is no longer continuous. I feel that the scene of the timeline I should be in after 1,000 years is flashing more and more before my eyes, seeing that there was still some time. Armu pointed to the armor on his body and said, can I take it back in a daze? Eminem saw that Rabbi seemed to be nodding his head and even circled around the top of his head. Then, after 1,000 years, can you follow me? Eminem asked a little nervously. The confession was not so nervous. After all, if it succeeds, the performance should be completed directly, right? PFFT. Eminem vaguely felt that he seemed to hear laughter. The next moment, the surroundings were completely dark and accompanied by a strong dizziness. Eminem found that he seemed to have returned to the original time. At this time, the dark clouds in the sky quickly dispersed, and the morning sun was rising. In a trance, Armu saw that there was a big ghost twisting and wearing a mask beside him, but the white cloth on the big ghost quickly disappeared, revealing the familiar Pokémon inside. When at the next moment, Armu seemed to see two rabbis leaving. I don't know if it was the rabbi who hadn't grown up after 1,000 years and was called parent, or 1,000 years had passed and it has grown up to be a child. After feeling that there was no danger, the string in Eminem's heart was finally broken, and at this time she completely fainted or fell asleep. Union the 28th of May. 200. Weird weather appeared in Maiden Gorge. Not only did the cloud suddenly dissipate, but an extra island appeared out of thin air on the sea. At the same time, the legendary Maiden Stone, which has not been damaged for 1,000 years, turned into powder and floated in the air during the Millennium celebration under the watchful eyes of everyone. When the special operations team of the Quartz Alliance landed to investigate the sudden appearance of the island, they found Eminem and his 6 Pokémon who had disappeared the day before. And on Eminem, a suspected antique battle armor was found. The reason why it is suspected to be antique is because this battle armor is a style of 1,000 years ago in terms of standard, but it is too new. It looks like it was made from the recently collected Shakaris armor. In addition, on the head of the ancient mischievous thunderbolt. In fact, it can also be said to be the body, and a ghost mask in the style of the Ziyuan town ruins was also found. Armu saw Katolin and said thank you to himself and said that the armor was given to him. I saw another woman who couldn't see her facial features clearly. After she nodded to herself at the beach, she turned around and walked back to Maiden Gorge, then saw Abby coming over, hugged his thigh, insisting on following him, but just when Eminem was about to hug it up, as soon as he got close, he smelled a strong smell of leeks from its onion head. Chinese chives. Armu woke up from the hospital bed, and it was already the next day if he didn't wake up again. The special operations team wanted to transport him to a large hospital in Deadly City Point because the physical signs seemed to be stable, so I stayed in Eminem to observe at the Maiden Gorge, and at this time, I really woke up. As soon as she opened her eyes, Armu saw Zylaksha eating buns. Are you awake? I'll call the doctor. Zylaksha put down the steamed stuffed bun and said looking at the steamed stuffed bun on the bed. Armu really wanted to remind her that the next time she eats steamed stuffed buns in the ward, at least, don't eat stuffed chives. After a brief examination by the doctor in the port town of Maiden Gorge, it was confirmed that Armu was really healthy. Before Armu could ask about his armor, a Junsha knocked on the door and came in. Looking at this short-haired Junsha, Armu thought about it seriously. Does he seem familiar? Meet you again, Mr. Eminem. Short-haired Junsha took the initiative to say hello. Only then did Armu confirm that she should be the Junsha she saw when she saw the moon mountain. Eminem's slight face blindness makes him more able to see similarity, but it is also easier to confuse similar people. I didn't have time to introduce myself last time. My name is Miwako, and I belong to the Special Operations Team of the Quartz Alliance. I always feel this may not be the last time we deal with each other. Miwako introduced herself. Armu was stunned when she heard the words. No wonder she was the first to rush over, whether it was at Eugian Mountain or Maiden Gorge. In addition, Miwako, then, I thank you for your good words. Eminem shrugged. Mihizi was naturally speechless when she heard the words. Obviously, the 2 times Eminem was not considered safe, and it could even be said to be very dangerous. However, Eminem was right. In the results of these 2 times, he also reaped a lot, which can be regarded as a blessing and a blessing. This time. Miwako said just now. Amu immediately interrupted. Wait. Miss Miwako, I want to report the loss. My set of Shakura-sama and a mask are missing. Eminem vaguely remembered that, when he came back from time travel, it seemed that the mask was still on Boom's body. At this time, the 6 Pokemon's elf balls were on the table next to the hospital bed. Meihezi rolled her eyes when she heard the words, I see, they are still there, and the armor will be returned to you after I know the situation. But the mask is a bit like the same series as the Town Museum. Then Miwako asked seriously, did you stray into Time Ripple by mistake before? Your armor seems to be. There is nothing that Eminem can't say about this. Naturally, he described it well to the other party. His good qualities attracted the help of a 1,000-year-old ghost and a 1,000-year-old girl ghost. With sincerity, he won the trust of the important person and rabbi at that time, not only stopped the deterioration of the situation, but also rescued the Millennium Wraith Island. This is a magnificent story. As for the battle armor and mask, why did they also cross over? Of course it is because of the gift from Rabbi. The alliance can be established, and even achieve the harmonious situation today. Naturally, it does not recognize the old kingdom, the old forces, and the ownership of everything. Otherwise, it will not be enough to support the old nobles. Only a small part of the old kingdom surrendered in time, and retained a city and a land basic management rights among the income of various relics and treasures today. Discovery rights account for a large proportion, and territorial rights also account for a certain proportion. As for the ownership of the descendants of the original owner of the discovered objects, the situation before the alliance history is not retroactive. As for the bestowal of the beast, the ownership is absolute. Amu said that the Saculus battle armor and the Vortex Gowl mask are all owned by Eminem, not to mention the museum in Town. Even the 7th Hokage fraud corpse. Useless. Chapter 159. Definitely see you again. After humbly explaining to the alliance what happened before, Eminem regained his armor and mask. However, Town Museum exchanged contact information with Eminem, then wanted to talk to Eminem about the recovery of the Gowl mask. This mask seems to be from a series, and the Town Museum has even researched it out. The whereabouts of the few missing pairs, including the one obtained by Eminem, seems to have been lent by the Whirlpool clan to the Kato clan. This actually proves the credibility of Eminem's words, and this time is different from the time in Golden City. Eminem also saw himself in the newspapers, and there was no shortage of headlines compared to the 18-year-old first-class pharmacist. This kind of news is obviously more eye-catching. This Eminem is also very helpless when Amu in Golden City got the inextinguishable flame before Aunt Jingha and the others blocked the news because it was involved in a major case and did not let the media bother Amu afterwards. But this time, not only was there no case involved and there was no reason to keep it secret, but the movement was not small and the news spread all over the place from the very beginning. Although I couldn't interview Eminem because of his coma, I don't know the details, but many news reports about the trainer boy suspected of traveling through time and space made it up. There are some responsible big news agencies, and there are no shortage of critics who speculate that Eminem has received the blessing of Rabbi. This is not a wild guess. First of all, Eminem's battle armor, mainly the Shakura-sama piece, which can be brought back 1,000 years, is itself the result of Shirabe's interference. Otherwise, like the white sheet covered by Pippi and the others, it would rot and disappear in an instant, leaving the small hospital. And on the way back to the hotel, Amu saw the empty cliff at this moment, and said with some emotion, but in this way, the number of tourists in Maiden Gorge will be greatly reduced. Right, but Zylaksha shook her head and said, no, there should be more. Mu was puzzled when she heard the words. Zylaksha had already explained. Originally, not too many people believed in the legend about the Maiden Gorge, and they just came to join in the fun. Although the petrified 1,000-year-old girl has disappeared, it proves that the legend is true. Mu was silent for a while, Seeing this, Xiaoxia thought he was thinking of something that happened thousands of years ago, so she felt sad in her heart and was about to speak to comfort, but Armu took the initiative to ask, "Then you said, if I sell the battle armor to the town hall of Maiden Gorge, the price must be cheaper than buying a set of Shakira's armor." "No, it is cheaper than buying. How much more expensive is a processed iron armored Tyrannosaurus armor, Xiaoxia?" "But didn't Cherubi give you that armor?" Xiaoxia reminded Armu point. If it was Xiaoxia, she would definitely not sell the things that the divine beast gave her. Armu thinks it is right. Not that this thing really has any special significance, but maybe the Shakira's armor piece blessed by the rabbi will have some additional effect. It's better to dismantle it honestly and make evolution materials for Arduin. That's right. After removing the armor plate, there is still a mold base left, and then sell it to, no, rent it to the Maiden Gorge's office. I will make up a beautiful legend for it. M suddenly thought of a good idea point at that time. Catolin can be upgraded from a spare tire in the fish pond to an official match, and his spirit in heaven will definitely be grateful to me. M thought so point Xiaoxia. By the way, you really didn't know what happened at night, so you traveled through time and space? Xiaoxia asked, staring at Armu point. That's right. Armu didn't tell the truth here. After all, Xiaoxia had just warned herself not to take risks, but she went out at night to splash. In fact, when everyone woke up in the morning and found that Armu was missing, they were also puzzled why Xiaoxin and Xiao Gang were fine, but Armu, who was not tempted, disappeared. Of course, that ghost must have seen my talent, Eminem said, his eyes drifting point. Seeing his appearance, Xiaoxia was naturally more suspicious. Fortunately, at this moment, she had already arrived at the door of the hotel and happened to meet Xiaoxin's family of 3 coming out. "Ah, Mr. Emu, have you recovered?" Guang Zhi hurriedly greeted. "Well, there's nothing wrong," Eminem said naturally. "I wanted to visit you at first, but Miss Junsha stopped me. Thank you for your help before. By the way, here is my business card. If you come to Kyansang City in the Chengdu area in the future, please be sure to contact us." Guangxi handed Amu his business card point. In their view, Eminem disappeared and transmigrated when he was protecting Xiaoxin and Xiao Gang point. Although he mainly protects his friends and Xiaoxin is just passing by, Guangxi is still very grateful to Eminem when he sees that Xiaoxin is fine. "If you have a chance, you must visit Asahianyan City." Eminem accepted politely. Eminem will definitely go to the Chengdu area. After the Kanto rookie competition is over, Eminem will have to catch up with the Chengdu rookie competition in the next 6 months. After all, he can participate in the Chengdu rookie competition within a year, and the Chengdu rookie competition will be held in March next year. It started on March 1st, and Eminem received the illustrated book on March 10th this year. In case Kanto's attempt at the rookie tournament champion debut fails, he will go to Johto to make his debut again. Even if you win the championship, you will fight for a more dazzling double championship. Xiaoxin, thank you brother as well. Mia urged from the side at this time. Xiaoxin wrinkled her mouth and said, I could have gone on a date with big sister Changfa. Duong after. Xiaoxin received a punch on the head. He thanked him honestly. Thank you for taking care of you. It's you who took care of me. Mia corrected. Don't worry about it. Xiaoxin spread his hands. You vomit. Mia was about to give justice again, but suddenly felt unwell, retched for a while, and quickly said, I'm sorry. Then she ran back to the hotel, probably to the bathroom. I'm sorry, my wife may have been too nervous these 2 days. Guang Zhi apologized. Butamu thought of the last scene she saw when she just traveled through. Kato Aoi's soul seemed to have walked back to the small town of Maiden Gorge, and she couldn't help but have other guesses in her heart. After all, in Crayon Shinchan, future Xiaoki also has a record of traveling back to the past more than once. Really, mom and dad are causing you trouble. Here, I'll give this to you. Xiaoxin said ironically again with a serious face. That's not what you should say. Guangxi said helplessly. But seeing that Xiaoxin really took out his painting and wanted to give it to others as a gift, although the painting was not very good, Guangxi didn't stop him. This is Armu took a look and found that the painting was a twisted and asymmetrical pigman, holding a knife and wearing purple pants on his lower body. Well, a ghost the color of energy. This is the character I created. Chubby Seaman. Xiaoxin said enthusiastically. Seaman. Amu obviously thought of something and asked instead, how did you come up with the idea to draw such a character? Why? Xiaoxin was taken aback for a moment, then frowned and thought for a while, then said, there is no reason. I feel fat, and Zeman has always fought with me. It should be a child's dream. I'm kidding. Guang Zhi said at the side at this time, but I always feel like I've seen it before. Did I see or didn't see it? Xiaoxin looked at the plump Zeman, wondering himself point at this moment. Eminem touched his head and said, maybe the appearance is different, but you will definitely meet again in the future. Chapter 160 Time and Space Diary. On the day Armu woke up, he saw a lot of missed long distance calls on the illustration book, most of which were made in the last few hours. Not only teacher Jumu, Dr. Oki, but also Dr. Sakuragi are all very interested in what happened to Armu, and because of the news reports, Miss Kingmui also urgently called back, concerned about Armu's safety. Fortunately, Armu has only been in a coma for less than a day. And less than 10 hours have passed since the news was published. So Sister Kingmui specially did not tell Grandma Leixi, so as not to worry her old man. After Armu repeatedly assured that she was fine, Kingmui finally felt relieved and reminded Armu again that she and Grandma Leixi would go to Rainbow City during the pharmacist assessment in July. Afterwards, Eminem returned the call of Mr. Jumu for the second time. But Mr. Jumu was more interested in ancient Pokémon and ancient Pokeballs than time travel. Unfortunately, from the perspective of Pokémon evolution, or 1000 years, it's not too long. Eminem didn't see much useful information. I just promised Mr. Jumu that I will mail a few pieces of Shakurasama in the past. After all, this is from 1000 years ago Shakuras, and it was preserved by Shirabi, which is of great scientific research value. Then Armu returned Dr. Sakuragi's call, and saw that Dr. Sakuragi was very interested in time travel. Without saying a word, Armu retransmitted Pippi and Ghost Stoner's witnesses to the past. As for Dr. Oki, he is interested in Rabishi and asked Eminem many things about Rabi. Although Dr. Oki didn't say anything, Eminem still thought of the fact that in the theatrical version, the young Dr. Oki traveled to the modern age and got acquainted with Xiaozi and others. Judging from the theatrical version, the modern middle-aged and elderly Dr. Oki still remembers the time travel and met Xiaozi. After hanging up the long-distance call of Dr. Oki, Eminem also sorted out his time travel in his heart and began to write Diary of Time and Space. Judging from the indirect evidence of the theatrical version and the direct examples of Eminem's personal experience, the timeline of this world should be a closed loop rather than multiple parallel time and space branches reminiscent of Kato Forest after 1000 years. The words that I said to Eminem, and recalling the experience of traveling back to 1000 years ago, Eminem feels that the key points can be compared. To some extent, Eminem's participation in the events of thousands of years ago has closed the loop of history. But in this way, there is a problem. That is, Eminem clearly knows that he has traveled to this world. So is it the moment when I travel through and the timeline of the whole world is reshaped? Or is one's own time travel itself a kind of necessity? Of course, there is another possibility, that is accident. The person who went back on the normal timeline was not Eminem, but accidentally caused the result to remain unchanged. Because Eminem assumed step by step and found that if he hadn't time traveled, someone would have time traveled to 1000 years ago, and most likely it was Xiaoxin, the old lady of the shrine. When she learned that children can also be recruited, Ming Ming was also surprised. It can be seen that Xiaoxin will come here and see AOI, which may lead to some kind of change in itself. If there is no Eminem, it is likely that Xiaoxin travels through time and space inadvertently, or under guidance. Then, Xiaoxin completely relied on his ability to always make a mess of everything, but the results are often good to properly resolve the grievances of thousands of years ago. So here comes the problem. Eminem is also not sure whether the rabbi now saw himself or Xiaoxin thousands of years ago. It's a pity that when Armu came back, Rabbi didn't bow down without accepting his head, and didn't even wait for Armu to wake up and say hello before leaving. This made it impossible for Eminem to confirm point. As for AOI Kato, she should have been reincarnated as AOI. That's right. It's just that Eminem is not sure whether there is really a theory of reincarnation in this world, or if there is something special about the Kato clan point. However, if you acquiesce in this point, it is speculated from the plot of Crayon Shinchan that Zyuoki will probably be followed by Shirabi in the future, and then gain the ability to travel through time and space. After all, AOI and Shirabi cooperated thousands of years ago. After a while, the accident that caused time ripples did not have any devastating effects. This point is easy to prove. After all, time in this world passes normally as long as a few years pass before Zyuoki is born and goes to school. She should meet Rabbi while still able to recall. Armu recorded all the details that he could recall before and after the time travel in his diary, and then he rested. Union the 30th of May 200. Zyuoki and Mutaka rented boat and followed Laplace's trail on the sea point. According to the agreement, the days that were delayed due to extreme weather and did not go to sea were not counted in the rental period. This is the place where I saw a single Laplace a few years ago. It is rumored that someone witnessed the waters of the Laplace group, which is further westward, near the mouth of the Far Sea. The owner of the ship told Zyuoki introduce it. Point. The port of Deadly City is in a bay sandwiched between the east and west Kanto mainland. On the north and south sides of the exit from the bay to the open sea, there is also a sea crossing bridge from Sunshine City to Rampa City. Among them, Rampa City in the south, not far from Sangzao town, Eminem's hometown. Point. Deadly City is in the deepest part of Kanto Bay, and passing under this sea crossing bridge that runs from north to south is basically entering the outer sea, the Far Sea. Zyuoki seriously used her knowledge of water type Pokémon from time to time, accompanied by the Seathorn Dragon. The revolution of Mahamashi dived together to check the ecological environment and the distribution of aquatic Pokémon, and judge the water type Pokémon. A possible location for Plath Point. And Eminem was on the boat, prying off the Shakura's armor piece by piece from the armor. After returning to Deadly City, Eminem will find someone to use this to make armor for the armored rhinoceros. Later, in the process of equipping this armor, the armored rhinoceros will have the possibility to grow and evolve. As for the bottom of the mold, after the armor piece was pried off, when Eminem was going to return to Maiden Gorge, he rented it to the town office for them to promote tourism. Point. Anyway, you can find some models and reinsert them. Zyuoki came back after another round of diving and then pointed the new direction to the owner. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Armu knew that it was Zyuoki who had floated up and was stepping barefoot on the deck. Have you found any traces of Laplace's actions? Eminem asked without looking up. It's not that easy, and it's not like on the ground, where you can find footprints, excrement, etc. Zyuoki said after taking off her diving goggles and portable oxygen tank. Point. Indeed, tracking specific Pokémon in the ocean is much more difficult than on land. Point. But at this moment, Eminem suddenly had an idea. How about, let me try to ask for you, use your ability? Is it really okay? Zyuoki is not very sure, but she can hear that she is looking forward to it. You can try it, but you have to teach me how to dive first. Eminem nodded. Point. With the degree of resistance of human beings in this world, natural diving is also simpler and safer. Basically only with oxygen equipment, novices can dive up to 50 meters. Professional over 100 meters is not a problem, and 300 meters is considered a hurdle. Most people can't pass this hurdle, but there are still various special abilities, not to mention some Pokémon that can assist in diving. Chapter 161. Asking for directions. It's nice to be young. The ship owner released his 3 white sea lions to bask in the sun together on the deck. Point. And Armu and Zyuoki are diving. To be precise, Zyuoki is teaching Armu to dive. From the perspective of the uncle of the ship owner, it is 2 young men agreed to come to find Laplace, but suddenly they started playing in the water. At the beginning, Zyuoki held Armu's hands face to face and led him to dive down. After Amu got used to it and went back and forth several times, she taught Amu some techniques one after another. After half a day, Eminem can almost dive by himself. At least tens of meters is no problem point after all. Although Eminem's body and direct strength are not as good as those of fighting trainers, his coordination is still very good, and he has no fear of darkness at all. This reduces many problems. As for Kanto Bay, the deepest part is only 100 meters, and the seabed near Amu and Zyluksha is only 50 or 60 meters. The portable oxygen tank used by the two was invented by Driver Lee, whom they met indirectly. The volume is smaller than a folding umbrella. After being pulled open, bitten in the mouth, and a fixed strap can be tightened, one can be used for breathing for 2 hours. Bringing a few more into the water is not only convenient, does not affect flexibility, but also guarantees breathing time. Eminem remembered that in the Conan theatrical version, the doctor also made this invention, but only 15 minutes, so that the atmosphere of the theatrical version can be stirred up. However, in this world, 2 full hours of use time, biting one and carrying 2 into the water. The time is very loose. Even if the strap falls off, there is still time to replace it with a new one. Underwater communication is also very simple, not very dependent on primitive gestures, because the illustrated book is extremely waterproof. Just use the text contact function of the illustration book. Although there is no network signal, it is still possible to connect to each other with Bluetooth in a short distance. And the two of them also contacted the uncle of the ship owner in this way. As for swimming, Zyluksha directly hugs the Seathorn dragon and just let it swim. Although the Seathorn dragon has poisonous thorns on its back, but as long as the bond is high enough, humans will not be harmed by Pokémon. A more scientific explanation is that Seathorn dragons will actively restrain their stingers when facing familiar people. The same nature also includes the rough skin of the Megalodon, the iron thorn of the nut dumbbell, and the static electricity of Pikachu, etc. Wild Pokémon with such characteristics are very dangerous. Even if they do not actively attack, humans will be injured by contact. However, it will not cause harm to familiar people and approved trainers. As for Eminem, Zyluksha lent him the more harmless jewel starfish. With the ability of animal senses, Eminem can also communicate with gem starfish without barriers. Ding. At this time, Zyluksha's illustrated book flickered, and she knew it was Eminem's news. After all, there was no external signal. Come here, there is lanternfish. Then Zyluksha looked up and found that Eminem was waving her hand to her in a distant place. At this depth, the sun can still be seen, but the visible range is much smaller. Zyluksha patted Seathorn directly, and the latter swam towards Eminem and gem starfish knowingly. The Seathorn dragon is about 1.2 meters long. Zyluksha is holding its dorsal fin with both hands, as if holding a super propeller. The diameter of the gem starfish is also about 1.1 meters. I saw Eminem kneeling in the gap on the edge of the gem starfish at the same time. Both hands are operating the illustrated book to talk to Zyluksha. As for the communication with the jewel starfish, Eminem is in contact with the jewel starfish now and can use animal senses to communicate without limitation. The lanternfish have a large swimming range. Let's go over there. I will try to ask them. Eminem sent a message to Zyluksha. Then the two swam together to a reef area with bright spots in the distance. Lantern fish is also a kind of Pokémon. It is the appearance of lamp monster before it evolved. It looks like a small fish. The small one is only as long as the forearm, and the big one is no more than 1 meter. Pokémon are different from ordinary animals and humans. After a short juvenile period after birth, their body size can reach the adult individual level, and their body size changes suddenly during evolution. In addition, there is no difference in size between adults and children. Pokémon on land often vary in size by 30%, but Pokémon in the sea have a large difference in size of the same race and individual, which can reach several times or even 10 times. There are two tentacles that seem to be evolved from fins protruding from the lanternfish, and there is a light emitting organ at the top. This organ not only makes it sensitive to the energy of the electric system, but also possesses the genus of the electric system, and can also illuminate and flash. Send message. Lanternfish are very timid. They hide in groups in the crevices of reefs during the day and only start to swim in a large area at night point. Especially now that they saw Eminem and Zyaksha coming, they hid one after another. But I saw Eminem stretching out his hand at this moment, facing the large reef in the distance, as if he was sensing something. After a while, a lanternfish swam out actively and circled around Eminem Point at this time. You sent another message to Zyaksha. Didn't you bring the food of the ocean, Pokémon? Give it some first. After Zyaksha saw it, she took out a jelly-like object in the shape of a small fish from her waist pocket and threw it to the lanternfish point. After eating Zyaksha's food, this lanternfish, which looked only about 20 or 30 centimeters in length, further lowered its vigilance and even came over to give Eminem a pat on the head point, although Zyaksha is more attractive to water type Pokémon. But Eminem also has the eye edge floating upward of all attribute Pokémon. Then Eminem asked the lanternfish about Laplace, but the lanternfish obviously didn't know much about it. Its habit is to be active at night, while Laplace is active during the day, and ordinary Pokémon, although smarter than ordinary animals, can't really communicate like humans, not just because of language barriers. Animal senses can only convey the general meaning. As for Puppy, Ghost Stone and the like, they are not ordinary Pokémon. Generally speaking, the psychic system and the ghost system are indeed generally clearer in consciousness, and it is easier to communicate with humans. Animal senses can directly communicate with the mind. To a certain extent, when communicating with Pokémon such as lanternfish, the efficiency is higher than communication between lanternfish. But even so, when Eminem showed the lanternfish the picture of Laplace in the illustrated book, the other party still only had incomprehensible mental fluctuations at this time. M's illustrated book flashed and found that it was Zyaksha. Ask it, do you know where the shellfish, crabs and other animals have decreased significantly recently? Chapter 162 Trace. Zyaksha already knew a lot about water type Pokémon, not to mention that she had done Laplace's homework in advance, so she naturally knew the types of their food. There are also common animals and plants in the Pokémon world. In fact, in terms of species, the number of known common animals and plants far exceeds that of known Pokémon. After all, there are more than 1,000 Pokémon discovered, including many of the same species. Different stages of evolution of species, and the number of animal species that have been discovered is 1,000 times greater than this. It's just because in this world, Pokémon is the only distinguished science in biology, and no one studies other animals. If you think that ordinary animals are normal, then Pokémon actually have too much similarity, and there are too few types, from an ecological point of view. Except for artificially raised meat animals, there are very few large animals in the wild, and they are basically outcompeted by Pokémon. Most of them are small herbivorous animals. In general, Pokémon's food is mostly ordinary animals and plants, and unlike ordinary animals, Pokémon has no pure meat classification. Interesting, this is also the main way to distinguish Pokémon fruit from ordinary plant fruits. Of course, this is only the most situation, and it is not impossible for Pokémon to prey on Pokémon. Among them, the Pokémon that are preyed the most are undoubtedly the Pokémon in the ocean. Weakling who is the most. Amu learned from the information given by Mr. Jumu that, since the outbreak of Pokémon 2 million years ago, large animals in history, especially large carnivores on land, have begun to decrease significantly. At the same time, in terms of plants, the number of Pokémon fruit is increasing day by day. For Pokémon, eating other animals to satisfy their hunger is actually not very efficient. Tree fruit is the best food for all Pokémon. Mr. Jumu also marked it here, this phenomenon that does not conform to the laws of nature. There are more and more Pokémon, and at the same time, more and more Pokémon berries are eaten, and in the ocean, although there are also marine berries. After all, there are more creatures in the ocean, no matter ordinary animals or Pokémon. This is the case. In addition, the weakling who is too weak, before the era of the Alliance. Weaklings were not even considered Pokémon, and even if they used skills in their individual existence, they were not easy to be discovered. The Carp King can still evolve after all, but weaklings will always be weaklings. It wasn't until 100 years ago that a master of water type Pokémon trained a large number of weaklings to form a school effect of weaklings, which completely corrected the name of weakness as weak. But they are indeed Pokémon, and Laplace is indeed interested in carnivorous food. But he doesn't prey on too large fish. He doesn't prey on Pokémon. There is no record of harming humans, but there are many records of helping those who fell into the water in addition. It is normal to eat fish, and it is not easy to be found in the sea, but Laplace also has a hobby when conditions permit. They will dive underwater, stick out their long necks, and eat shellfish on the bottom of the sea class crab. The depth and environment of Kanto Bay are very suitable for the growth of shellfish. Zyloxia even suspects that the reason why there are groups of lapras here is because the seabed environment here is very suitable for the growth and reproduction of shellfish. There are groups of laplaces, and the appetite should not be underestimated. If you eat fish, you will not be found in the sea, and there is no pressure on the environment. However, if you let go and eat your favorite shellfish and crabs, there may be a short-term mark of you directly described this situation to the lanternfish through spiritual contact, and the latter immediately sizzled, and the tentacles flickered slightly, as if he had seen a similar situation before. Seeing the lanternfish turn around and swim away, you also beckoned, signaling Zyloxia to follow. Then the two followed the lantern fish and swam for half an hour. Because of the lanternfish's unwillingness to go to shallow water, the two kept diving to follow it, of course. Mainly sea thorns and gem starfish were swimming. The seawater here is about 50 meters deep, which belongs to the sea area where ordinary shellfish are suitable for survival. On the bottom of the sea, you can see that the shellfish are obviously much sparser. If you look carefully, you can find some broken shells. The lanternfish was found here last night. According to Laplace's habit, it should have eaten here during the day, and at night, it will rest on the shore, and then continue to chase the warm seawater. Zyloxia sent a message to Amu after getting the information. I have been looking for the illustrated book. Eminem guessed that she was looking at a map, so she didn't bother, just seeing that the lanternfish was still circling around the two of them. Eminem patted the gem starfish and brought it closer to Zyloxia, then took out two fish-shaped Pokémon food from her waist bag and threw it. Gave lanternfish point. After eating and drinking enough lanternfish, I left. Then Amu corrected Zyloxia. The current position. What she saw just now was not the current position of the two of them at all. Zyloxia. The two first swam to the surface of the sea. Laplace still stretched out his long neck and swam on the surface of the sea most of the time, leaving only traces that could only be discovered by diving. Based on normal deduction, Laplace should have rested here last night, and he probably arrived here today. Zyloxia pointed it out to Eminem in the illustrated book. Let's go. Zyloxia was a little excited, and she took the initiative to lead the waypoint, but he was stopped by Amu. Wait. If you speculate that you are here, shouldn't you go in this direction? I will test you. Zyloxia said firmly, and the distance is not too short. It's better to go back to the boat first, so that the gem starfish and sea thorn dragon can also save some energy. Amu reminded when subduing Laplace, maybe the gem starfish will also help. So the two first determined the position of the ship, then swam back all the way, and pointed out the position to the uncle of the ship owner as an old fisherman. The boat owner is still very reliable. Eminem is also looking forward to whether he can find Laplace, if it is possible in the sea, then when he is looking for some Pokémon on land in the future. A similar method will also work. It proves that animal sense still has great potential to be tapped, not only in terms of cultivating Pokémon. At the same time, Eminem did not forget to write down the diving diary while he had time and summarize the gains and losses in this newly mastered skill. Seeing that Emu didn't even waste this little time, Zyloxia, who wanted to take a break, also awkwardly took out the illustration book, pretending to be watching the video of the water type king of the game. Not long after, a burst of high and then low, particularly distant chirping sounds came. After Zyloxia heard it, she immediately got up and looked in the direction of the sound. Uncle, over there, understood. The uncle of the ship owner also heard the voice and faintly saw a group of plesiosaur-like creatures dimly sneaking in and floating in the distance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo fanfic novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163 Subduing. Hum amidst the ups and downs, clear and long calls, only a dozen Laplaces appeared in groups on the sea at this time point on the small boat on the sea. The owner and Eminem are on the deck, watching Xyloxia swim with the Seathorn dragon, intending to get close to Laplace. Aren't you going to try it? Laplace is a Pokémon with great potential, right? And there are such a large group of them here. The uncle of the ship owner asked, while smoking a pipe. I'll forget it. Water and ice are not my specialties, and it doesn't make much sense to be greedy. Amu didn't see or accept anything. After all, he didn't run a breeding house point in a blink of an eye. Xyloxia communicated with a group of Laplaces for a while, and then Laplace who looked smaller came out and confronted Xyloxia head on. The exchange seems to have come to fruition. The uncle of the ship owner also looked very understanding. I saw Xyloxia half flying on the Seathorn dragon at this time, and at the same time, released the jewel starfish, and then the other Laplaces just watched, and the jewel starfish was fighting 1 vs 1 with a Laplace that came out before stand up. It seems that Xyloxia has hooked Laplace who wants to travel with the human trainer, and now it's time to fight and subdue. The opponent gem starfish is water plus super energy, Laplace is water plus ice, and the one Xyloxia is facing seems to have the characteristic of water storage. As long as the water system energy attacking itself does not exceed within a certain limit, it can be fully absorbed. Not only will it not be injured, but it can restore physical strength in terms of attributes. If only considering the attack with its own moves, Gem Starfish has a slight advantage. At least Laplace is not resistant to superpowers. But Xyloxia also said before that her Gem Starfish does not know any superpower skills. After all, Xyloxia is not a superpower trainer, and her training level in superpower is limited. Although Jewel Starfish will naturally awaken some superpower skills as it grows, but if it has been lack of practice. Just when Eminem was still sweating for Xyloxia, I saw Jewel Starfish spinning and flying up, and when it came to the top, where Laplace was inconvenient to look at, the gemstone in the center flashed. And a red spiritual energy spewed out. Not only does it hit Laplace, but it also blows up a large wave of water around it. This is spiritual shock. Amu was taken aback when he saw this. Spiritual shock. It is not a skill that Jewel Starfish will naturally awaken. Immediately, it dawned on Amu Xyloxia is not standing still these days. Laplace's special defense is higher than physical defense, and spiritual shock may not be as powerful as spiritual force, but it has a better effect on Laplace. Laplace didn't hold back his hands at this time. He flicked his long neck and turned his head to hit Frozen Beam. The gem starfish twirled around to avoid it, but it was still scratched, and the two sharp corners were frozen a little. Then the two Pokémon sank into the sea one after another to fight. They were all aquatic Pokémon anyway, so they didn't fear water battles. Laplace, a crowd of onlookers, also plunged down one by one, and even Xyloxia took out a portable oxygen tank to bite on it at this time, and dived down. It seemed that she would continue to direct pointed command underwater. Amu looked puzzled for a while, and immediately realized that Xyloxia's progress was greater than she imagined. Directly using language command. For a professional trainer, it is a beginner's performance. The mysterious ones have communication of mind, and the down-to-earth ones can also tacitly use detailed expressions and movements to make hints. Then, when Eminem was hesitating whether to find a portable oxygen tank and go down to have a look, Laplace and the others floated up. Gem Starfish and Xyloxia also floated up, and, at this time, Xyloxia came up on the back of a Laplace. When Xyloxia came back riding Laplace, the other Laplaces were still saying goodbye to their companions, wishing it a journey. The ones who will go on the road with the trainer are generally more aggressive. After returning to the boat, Kasumi took Laplace back to the Pokeball and showed Eminem her new Pokémon. After successfully achieving their goal, Eminem and Xyloxia directly asked the ship owner to return to Deadleaf City, and they had re-entered the Pokémon Center that night. During dinner, Xyloxia took the initiative to ask, in the next half month, do you want to continue training Pokémon, or go to the Withered Leaf Gym first? After Xyloxia subdued Laplace. There was nothing to worry about for the time being. Half a month was entirely up to Eminem's arrangement. As for half a month later, they will take the long distance train directly to the Ramperky resort on the outskirts of Deadleaf City. Their appointment with Yuanzi and Xiaolan is in mid-June. After relaxing in Rampa, at the end of June, everyone will go to Rainbow City together. Yuanzi and Xiaolan will take the final exam, and Eminem will also prepare to participate in the qualification examination for expert pharmacists during the half-month in Deadleaf City. Firstly, it was training Pokémon, and secondly, Em and Xyloxia are also preparing to get their 5th and 4th badges respectively. I'll go to the Deadleaf gym first, but I'm not going to challenge the gym, Eminem said. Huh? What are you going to do? Xyloxia wondered. It is said that the current official gymnasium in Deadleaf City is still of the electrical department, and Eminem has nothing to learn. Didn't I mail a few pieces of Shajilasama to Mr. Jumu before? Teacher Jumu contacted me just now, saying that there is a different power in those armors, and recommended me a professional equipment maker. Eminem explained. After all, unlike ordinary Shakura-sama, if it is an ordinary equipment maker, it is likely to make mistakes. What does that have to do with going to the Deadwood gym? Xyloxia was still puzzled. It's the owner of the Gold Pavilion. In addition to being a Pokémon training master, he is also an experienced equipment maker. Mr. Jumu has also contacted the Gold Pavilion owner. It just so happens that the Gold Pavilion owner is also looking for an expert pharmacist recently. Teacher Jumu recommended me to him. Amu further explained that he would go to the Deadwood gym tomorrow. Not only was he in a hurry to get the armored Tyrannosaurus armor, but the owner of the Gold Pavilion was also waiting for the pharmacist. Then, I'll go too, Xyloxia said impromptuly. If you challenge the gym, I will go there again in the future. If you no, I just happened to drop by to have a look. The number of challenges with more than 5 badges can be regarded as helping you find the way, Xyloxia said. As a matter of course. The challenge sessions with more than 5 badges can already be watched for a fee, and it can be regarded as one of the important incomes of the official gymnasium. Chapter 164 Fair Exchange. Union 200, June 1st. Early in the morning, Eminem and Xyloxia arrived at the Deadwood gym. Xyloxia went directly to watch the show, and decided which gym challenge to watch, while Amu was led to the Lei Terrace, where the owner of the Gold Gym was, after telling the guide staff the purpose of her visit. A building where the owner usually rests has been built during the period of Mazishi. It looks like a tall lightning-inducing tower. The place where people can live is on the top, and the bottom is just a tower. Eminem reckons it should have practical significance for electric trainers, such as introducing natural lightning or something. As soon as he entered the door, Eminem was bumped. A person came out of it, looking strong and tall, wearing a black cloak mysteriously at this time, as if he didn't want to be recognized. After bumping into Eminem, he didn't apologize, but continued to leave quickly. Eminem turned his head to look at him unhappily, and then asked the guide brother, "Who is that person?" "This? I don't know. It's only right that the owner of the restaurant doesn't have any guests today." The guide brother was also puzzled. At this time, Eminem felt a bad feeling in his heart, and immediately asked, "There haven't been any detectives or elementary school students here recently, have they?" "Huh? Detective? I haven't heard of it. For elementary school students, it is not forbidden to watch the challenge of the gymnasium accompanied by their parents." The guide brother didn't understand why Eminem asked this immediately. Amu also realized that if the Reaper was in Deadleaf City, Yuanzi should contact herself or Xyloxia, and they should still be on the way to Lanpuki, right? If Conan is here, it is estimated that after going up, you can only see the body of the owner of the Gold Pavilion. But if you think about it carefully, as the owner of one of the 8 grade 12 badge gymnasiums in the region, the owner of the Golden Gym can't be solved so easily. After walking up more than 50 meters of steps to test physical strength, Eminem and the guide brother came to the Thunder Terrace. "Hal Master, Mr. Eminem is here," the guide brother said, after knocking on the door. Being touched by him with such a sense of sight, Eminem really felt a little churn, lest there would be no sound inside, or some strange sound coming from it. "Come in." The voice of the owner of the Gold Pavilion sounded as usual. Although he had rationally convinced himself that nothing would happen. It was only after seeing the owner of the gold pavilion that Armu breathed a sigh of relief. This Lei terrace looks a bit empty as a whole, but the owner of Jin Pavilion has a serious and rigid expression at this time, sitting cross-legged in the middle of the deep side of the whole room of Lei terrace. The guide brother didn't come in, but just closed the door. The entire room was empty, only some crystal balls that looked like electric lights, and the bases on which they were placed were arranged row by row in the room. Brother, Jumu told me about you, come and sit down. The owner of Jin said with a smile. It can be seen that the owner of the Jin Pavilion is not in a good mood now. As for the reason for the not so good, Eminem can actually guess, because the potion that the gold pavilion master wants to refine is a potion that prolongs the life of the elderly electric type Pokémon. In other words, it is a medicine for old electric type Pokémon to treat old wounds. Pokémon tamed by trainers usually live longer than their wild counterparts, which leads to the appearance of some senile diseases that do not appear in wild Pokémon. Sickness is the sudden concentrated outbreak of old injuries. Probably the partner of the gold pavilion master is in danger. Otherwise, the rumored owner of the gold pavilion is not so serious. It is said that he is a person who loves to laugh. Master Jin, I'm bothering you this time. Teacher Jumu told me that your equipment manufacturing. Eminem wanted to say something polite. However, the owner of the Jin Pavilion was not polite to Armu, and said directly, Brother Jumu told me, you release the armored Tyrannosaurus first, and I will measure the size, and then leave the Shakira-sama. You can pick it up in 3 days. Mew could also see that the owner of the gold pavilion seemed to be in a hurry, so he didn't talk nonsense and quickly released Arduin and took out a large bag of armor pieces from his backpack. While measuring the various body sizes of the ironclad Tyrannosaurus and judging the texture by pinching them from time to time, the owner of the gold pavilion asked, I heard from Brother Jumu, you already have an expert level in pharmacy? Well, I also heard from Mr. Jumu about the few things that the gold pavilion master needs. You should be refining the rejuvenation potion used by electric type Pokémon, right? If it is this kind of potion, my success rate I dare not say 100%, but there are still 90%, and the average expert pharmacist should not be higher than me. At this time, Eminem no longer cares about being modest. But immediately Amu also said, it's just about the ingredients of the medicine. I can't do anything about it. Mew also heard from Mr. Jumu that the owner of the gold pavilion is still short of several raw materials and what kind of potion he needs to refine. Mew also thinks of it from the missing materials. I have gathered all the ingredients for the potion just now. If you are really sure, well, to be honest, I only have enough ingredients for 2. If you are really sure, then please. If not. The owner of the Jin Pavilion still wants to remind Eminem not to brag at this time. Eminem is not surprised by this. After all, he is only 18 years old, and he has not yet officially obtained the qualification certification of the expert level. Hall Master Jin. This is completely a normal person's reaction. Even if it wasn't for Dr. Jumu's face support, normal people would not believe Eminem's words at all. It will take time to find other expert pharmacists, and the success rate is probably not as good as that of Eminem. At least that's what Eminem himself said. Therefore, the owner of the gold pavilion is also a little hesitant. Please, give it to me. Amu immediately patted his chest and agreed when he heard that there were 2 materials afterwards. The owner of the Jin Pavilion also gave the materials of rejuvenation potion to Amu. After a brief look, Amu found the electric shock core and thunder beast that the Jin Pavilion master was still looking for. Scales, as expected, they were already here at this time. The former is a kind of crystallization that can only be produced when Pokémon such as electric shock beast is awakened by the electric attribute LV, while the latter is the inverse scale that naturally falls off from the great heaven leaking level Thunderbird Sea Beast. No wonder even Jin the owner was never found. With the materials, Eminem is going back to the Pokémon Center to rent a pharmacy. The 2 didn't mention any remuneration. It is said that the technical content of Amu's side is much higher than that of the armored Tyrannosaurus armor. However, the Shakira-sama provided by Amu is not ordinary, so it is difficult to measure. Simply, the two will take what they need and exchange fairly. Since there are two materials, Eminem's success rate is infinitely close to 100%. This is not a problem of to 90%. To 90% and a 1% consecutive failure rate. Eminem is going to directly use the material stacking method taught by Grandma Leixi. This is Grandma Leixi's unique technique. After learning about pharmacy, Amu has never seen it on other pharmacy masters. Its essence is to use some means to overconsume certain key materials to increase the success rate. This is not simply to add more ingredients. Adding more without thinking will only lead to failure. This is a special technique, and it can only be used in situations where the success rate is already high. Just in case. If it is mass produced, it is actually not cost effective. Eminem estimates that he has to consume 1.5 doses of key materials to ensure that a finished product will inevitably appear. From the perspective of mathematical expectations, it is obviously a loss, but considering the current situation, it is obviously time to use the material stacking method. Chapter 165 Armor. During the process of refining the potion, Amu found that the materials provided by the owner of the gold pavilion were of excellent quality. The three main materials are actually thunder in the air, thunder under the sea, and thunder on land. Three materials produced by electric Pokémon. Previously, the owner of the gold pavilion was looking for thunder on the land and thunder in the sea. As the king of the electrical department, the owner of the gold pavilion was actually asking for it from outsiders, so it can be seen that his rejuvenation potion must be his trump card. Pokémon use it, so other weaker Pokémon can't help at all. And one of the trump cards of the gold pavilion master is electric shock monster. Since the electric shock core produced by this electric shock beast cannot be used, then Eminem estimates that it is this electric shock beast that needs a rejuvenation potion. Representing thunder in the sky is a feather, which is also the most powerful of the three materials. Eminem reckons this should be the feather of lightning bird. And even if it is a divine beast, it is not enough to just pluck out a single hair. It must be the few hairs that naturally fall off at the growth point. It is said that the feathers of the lightning bird, which is really called the three sacred birds, can be used as a reusable thunderstone, but the little lightning bird, the owner of the gin pavilion, should not be able to point the other thunder on land is a electric shock core from the electric shock beast. The thunder under the sea is a thunder beast scale from the thunderbird sea beast. Amu checked it a little bit and found that although the energy of the electric system is not as good as the lightning feather, it is also surprisingly abundant. It is very likely that it all comes from the Great King level Pokémon. If it is low, the efficacy of the medicine will not affect the Great King level Pokémon. I'm afraid it won't be too good. As expected of the owner of the gold pavilion, within a short period of time, he managed to get it all together. Is this the circle of the kings? 3 days later, Amu came to the Deadwood gym. This time, just after entering the door, the guide brother from last time immediately greeted him, as if he was specially waiting for Amu. Mr. Eminem, come with me. The owner has been waiting for you this morning. The guide brother said quickly. Amu didn't delay and walked quickly to the Leixi terrace with the guide brother. I saw the owner of the gin pavilion again, and now I saw him and Eminem, both with the same dark circles, different from general consumables such as encouraging potion. Special potions such as rejuvenation potion take a long time to refine. In 3 days, it's not that Eminem is leisurely, but he just uses a similar type of potion materials, practiced a little for half a time, and then started the formal refinement. It is true that it is not over until now, and I slept for less than 6 hours in 3 days, although there is the energy bonus of indestructible flame. But sooner or later, when the energy is exhausted, it is not. The owner of the gold pavilion was even more uncomfortable. Firstly, he was fearful, and secondly, the Shakura-sama that was blessed by Rabbi, she was indeed very different from ordinary Shakura-sama. He also tried his best to eliminate interference, and was making Tyrannosaurus-sama for Arduin. However, when they saw each other's expressions, they already breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. It was an expression that everything went well. Amu directly took out a rejuvenation potion, and the remaining half of the ingredients rejuvenation potion. This time it is in a special potion bottle, and there is a wooden frame for protection on the outside. At first glance, I thought it was an hourglass. However, what is contained in the glass vessel is a light golden liquid, and lightning flashes in it from time to time. In order to ensure the success rate, I use the technique of piling up materials. Amu simply explained. Point anyway, for the owner of the gold pavilion, a success is enough, and when Eminem talked about stacking materials, the mainstream of Jingoan showed a look of confusion at first, and then stunned, and then muttered I see, as if he also thought of something. Eminem didn't explain much about this either. It seems that Mr. Jumu didn't tell the owner of the gold room, who is the teacher of Eminem's pharmacy. And the owner of the gold room looks like he doesn't know Grandma Leixi directly, but he may have heard of it. The Tyrannosaurus armor is also finished. There are still some armor pieces left. It is true that some of the rabbi's power is contained in it. If your ironclad Tyrannosaurus can evolve with this armor, it should get some special armor ability. At this time, the owner of the gold pavilion opened the box on the side. Both of them got what they wanted, and Amu also knew that he should not disturb the owner of the gymnasium at this time. But when he was about to leave, the owner of the gold hall took the initiative to say, "Guide, you go and take Amu to apply for the temporary gym experience formalities." Ironclad Tyrannosaurus is almost immune to the same level of electric type attacks, but electric type attacks can temper ironclad Tyrannosaurus. If everything goes well, within half a month, your ironclad Tyrannosaurus will be able to evolve. The second half of the sentence was addressed to Eminem, and there was an additional special training course for iron armored Tyrannosaurus. Eminem naturally smiled at this, and after thanking the owner of the gold pavilion, went to go through the formalities and confirm the venue with the little guide. Afterwards, the little guide took Amu to a special training room, and Amu first contacted Zyarksha. At this time she was still watching the battle in the gymnasium, and as a water type trainer, she insisted on challenging the electric type gymnasium. It's still a bit difficult, but fortunately, this is only her 4th badge. Amu is going to challenge the 5th badge directly in the Withered Leaf gym. But, since the owner of the Golden Hall said that Arduan will be able to evolve within half a month, then Amu is going to wait for Arduan to evolve before challenging. Although Eminem is sure about getting the 5th badge, even if he doesn't get on Arduan, of course it's more enjoyable to push the team. After telling Zyarksha that she was going to train in the Withered Leaf gym for a period of time, Eminem came to an indoor venue that was not open to the public, but did not see other gym trainers. But the little guide directly took out the Pokeball. Seeing Eminem's surprised expression, the guide said, "Actually, I'm also a student of the owner of the museum, but the owner said that I still need to temper my temper, so that's the case, then please." Amu said, and released Arduan, who had already put on the armor. The processed Shakiras armor plate is dark red. In fact, every armor plate that can be used as the material of Tyrannosaurus armor is this color after processing, representing the color of the earth and rocks. Shakiras armor is one of the best materials for Tyrannosaurus armor, because after Shakiras evolves into dangerous, it will lose the ground attribute, so the armor that falls off at this time, the ground department of power, is particularly strong. At this time, Arduan, who is wearing the armor, looks like a super armored rhinoceros that has successfully lost weight. When the power in the armor and the genes that guide it evolve further, it will completely evolve into a super armored rhinoceros. Sometimes the Tyrannosaurus armor will also be integrated with it. The best way to catalyze ironclad Tyrannosaurus fit armor is to keep fighting. As the director said, he released his electric monster. Chapter 166, Super Armored Rhinoceros. 7 days after Amu refined the rejuvenation potion in the special training ground of the Withered Leaf gym, Shock the Beast, use Thunder Fist. Under Zyodeo's command, the electric shock monster jumped up and punched it on Arduan's horn. It's not that the electric shock monster insisted on hammering the key parts, but Arduan took the initiative to meet it with his horns. On Arduan's unicorn, there is still a dark yellow phantom spinning faintly at this time. It is the ground type skill, straight drilling. Eminem has long discovered that Zyodeo's electric shock monster should already be around level 60 after all. Xiaodao looks a few years older than Eminem, and he is a student of the Gold Pavilion Master, and he is probably also a professional trainer. The race value of Electric Shock Beast is 540 points. Under the level advantage, it is dual with Arduin. In terms of combat power on paper, Electric Shock Beast has the absolute upper hand point as for the effective combat power, because Electric Shock Beast and Iron Armored Tyrannosaurus are both prone to physical attack, so if the special attack and special defense of the two sides are ignored, the gap will narrow a lot. Although the gap is still not small, in terms of attributes, Iron Armored Tyrannosaurus is almost immune to the electric power that Electric Shock Monster is good at. Even if the difference in combat power is so small, Xiaodao's Thunder Fist, which hits Arduin with electric power, only makes Arduin feel slightly numb in terms of damage from electric power, and at most affects his flexibility a little. Of course, the direct force attack in Thunder Fist is not immune to the ground system unless it is a ghost plus ground such as Clay Giant. The reason why Electric Shock Monster uses Thunder Fist against the ground system so firmly is because it is the most proficient in this move, and in addition to the attack with the added attribute of the electric type, the Thunder Fist itself is also using the electric type strength to stimulate one's own muscles and improve the power of punching, which is not immune to the ground system. On the other hand, the little director was not trying to win, but was assisting Armu in training Arduin, hoping to make him digest the Tyrannosaurus armor and evolve as soon as possible. A part of the wasted electrical power is actually stimulating the fit between his body and the armor. Straight drill collided with Thunder Fist. They didn't bounce off immediately, but stalemate for a while. Then suddenly there was a crisp sound, and the electric monster leaped backwards, only to see the single horn on the head of the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. After the ground energy dissipated, it could be seen that the horn's body was cracking, broken again. When Eminem was thinking about whether to add another potion for repairing the unicorn, I saw that the whole body of the armored Tyrannosaurus flickered, and then the outline swelled higher, mainly because it was also stronger by a large circle. The original one-horned part split apart at this time and became a horn on the nose and forehead. One of the corners on the forehead looks similar to the previous one in length and thickness, while the nose, or the corner in the middle of the face, is much thicker and straighter than before. After the light dissipated, the figure of super armored rhinoceros was revealed inside. The whole body seemed to be constructed of rocks, full of power and crushing. The average height of the armored Tyrannosaurus before evolution was 1.9 meters. Among them, Arduin was well developed, with a height of 2.1 or 2 meters. It has changed, and overall it is more strong. Standing in front of Eminem at this moment, he looked like a behemoth. It's done. Your iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. No, the super-armored rhinoceros has been bred very well, and the evolution is faster than expected, the director said at this time, while taking back the Electric Shock Beast point. Although the racial value of Electric Shock Monster is higher than that of Super Armored Rhinoceros, and the level of Xiaodao's Electric Shock Monster is more than 10 levels higher than that of Arduin, but the attribute restraint is too serious. Originally, relying on the advantage of combat power, he could still fight. But now that Arduin has evolved, he might suffer a loss. If he fights again, the director is not going to give Arduin a chance to retaliate. In this real world, the attribute restraint among Pokémon is far more important than in games. In the game, Pokémon's own attributes do not limit the attack skills, of which attributes can be learned at all. Whether it can restrain the opponent depends mainly on whether the attributes of its own attack skills can restrain the opponent's own attributes. After all, in the game, as long as the skills can be learned in theory, it is only a matter of operating a few times. However, in this world, skills need to be mastered by yourself little by little. After mastering, whether you can use them proficiently or even fully digest them, you need to accumulate them. So most Pokémon have mastered their own skills. Even better, the skills of cross-attribute learning will be less proficient after all. Like Xiaodao's Electric Shock Beast, if you have to say it, you can also use the Steel type, Iron-tail, but it is not only a matter of the power bonus of this system, but more importantly, its grasp of the Iron-tail, its own it is far inferior to Thunder Fist. The meaning of using a skill that you have mastered is completely different from a skill that can only stimulate the effect point among the professional trainers. They are generally those who are inclined to the competition, and they will pay more attention to the strike surface. For example, Nido'Avamu is a typical Pokémon in the arena. He will learn a bunch of attack skills with different attributes. If it is purely field combat, the trainer is more likely to use multiple Pokémon to expand the attack surface, rather than let a Pokémon learn multi-attribute skills. Broken. Arduin was beating his chest excitedly at this moment. Well, Eminem can also understand. After all, the short arms of the armored Tyrannosaurus can't beat the chest. Break. Arduin yelled at Zyodeo, as if he wanted to call out the electric monsters that he had fought against in the past few days, and fight again. But the little guy just smiled slightly, pretending not to understand. At this time, Armu also greeted Arduin to come back. Okay. Don't be so arrogant just after you evolve. Wait for 2 days to get familiar with it, and I will take you to fight for the gym badge. When you have time to fight, Duin. After Arduin evolved, he seemed to be more aggressive. Little guide. Only then did he remember that Emu was still going to challenge the gym. You want to challenge for the 5th badge? The director asked with some doubts. That's right. What's wrong? It's nothing. The corner of Zyrodeo's mouth twitched. Zyrodeo's trump card is the electric shock beast that exceeds level 60, and he is an 8-star trainer at the Withered Leaf Gym. Generally speaking, he is stronger than the trainer with 8 badges, so he will be a little bit more watery during the assessment, such as 3 against 6. After all, the general standard of 8 badges is only 1 or 2 aces reaching the elite level and other full level competitions. The director estimated that if he had to play by himself, if he didn't prepare in advance and only use 3 Pokémon, he might be pierced by Eminem's super armored rhino. It's a 5-star gym trainer. TSK. Armu didn't expect at first that it only took 7.5 days to make Arduin evolve, and even the owner of the Gold Pavilion predicted within half a month. But in the last 2 days, Eminem had a faint premonition. After the evolution, the racial value of the super armored rhino increased from 485 points to 535 points, and the increase of 50 points evenly increased the 5 aspects other than speed, each 10 points very evenly. What's more, the characteristic of Hardhead that was originally useless has transformed into Hard Rock. Now the hard is not only the head, but the rock armor of the whole body, and the effect is no longer to counteract moves backlash damage, but the attribute damage that restrains itself is weakened by a quarter. For example, the original grass and water systems have 4 times the calculation power in theory against ironclad Tyrannosaurus, but now it only needs 3 times the calculation, which greatly improves its practicality on the battlefield. What surprised Eminem even more was that the effect of Rabbi's blessing also appeared at this time. Chapter 167, Rabbi 039's blessing. After Arduin evolved into a super armored rhinoceros, Armu discovered that Rabbi's blessing should have taken effect. Arduin himself was also very excited, and in the communication with Armu, he seemed to have more what other abilities, so Armu didn't care that the little guide was still there, and had an in-depth communication with Arduin on the spot, of course, using the ability of animal senses. Seeing that Armu raised his hand high, he managed to touch the head of Super Armor Kuangxi, not the top of his head. Seeing this, Arduin wanted to squat down a little bit, but the effect was not very obvious. It seems that, although the body of Super Armored Rhino is good at fighting, it belongs to the type of only facing the enemy head on. Once knocked down, Super Armored Rhino will appear inflexible. This is not something that Eminem just knew. I usually watch a lot of Super Armored Rhino game videos, and most of them are like this. This is a racial characteristic, and it is not so easy to make up for it. At the same time, through contact, Armu fully activated the ability of animal senses, so that he can observe Arduin from the perspective of self-view to a certain extent. Ordinary Pokémon cannot observe themselves so clearly. From Eminem's perspective, not only has he become a ghost, but he can also see his own genetic makeup. At first Eminem thought that there would be some improvement in direct attributes, but he didn't find anything abnormal, and the improvement range was within the inherent improvement range of evolution point. Then Eminem looked at the gene segment representing skills. It's nothing technical, but following the look, Emu found that there is an extra part of Arduin's characteristic gene segment at this time, which looks golden. As if it was picked up by someone for nothing, and it is made of light gene segment, and it is also taking effect dominantly. Generally speaking, most Pokémon have 2 or 3 possibilities in terms of characteristics, which are expressed in genes. That is, there are 2 to 3 gene segments representing characteristics under normal circumstances. Only one part of a Pokémon's characteristic gene will be dominantly expressed, and the other characteristic gene segments are recessive. And unlike the gene segment of skills, the characteristics often cannot be adjusted by themselves. However, some rare Pokémon individuals are born with dual or even triple characteristics, and after reaching level 100, that is, when it grows to the extreme in conventional terms, when it really starts to become stronger, Pokémon will expand the number of dominant gene segments of characteristics and skills while awakening the attribute level point. Generally speaking, the focus of training and improvement after reaching the full level is integration of skills, realization of multiple characteristics, and improvement of attributes and characteristics. Point as for the Pokémon that can unlock multiple characteristics before the full level, it is a gifted talent, and the current situation of Arduin is not quite the same as that of ordinary multi-characteristics. After a little bit of identification, Amu found that its 3 normal characteristic gene segments are indeed showing 2 hidden parts, that is, the 3 characteristics of the super armored rhinoceros, lightning rod, hard rock, and sacrifice, of which sacrifice corresponds to a rare characteristic position, and the probability of being hidden is higher. Now Arduin is the same as the ordinary super armored rhinoceros, only one is dominant, which is hard rock. But behind these 3 genes, there is an extra one. After reading it for a while, Eminem suddenly understood that this paragraph is natural reply. That is to say, in the game, the characteristics of Shirobie are also the characteristics of Pokémon such as Happy Egg and Jewel Starfish. Point the effect in the game is that after being replaced, it will recover from the abnormal state, and in this real Pokémon world, the effect in the wild state is that the duration of the abnormal state is shortened, and when it cooperates with the trainer, it is also replaced. After entering the Pokeball, it will recover from the abnormal state. Point as for why entering the Pokeball triggers effects such as regeneration and natural recovery. Eminem reckons this has something to do with the principle and essence of the Pokeball, but this is beyond the knowledge of the trainer. For this knowledge, you can consult Mr. Jumu in the future. He is an expert in this field. What's the matter? Has Rabbi's blessing come into effect? The director also knew that the reason why Eminem asked the owner of the Gold Pavilion to make this set of Tyrannosaurus armor was because of its specialness. The effect is not bad, Eminem affirmed, but did not explain in detail. Seeing this, the director also congratulated Eminem. Although it is not directly followed by the Divine Beast, it is also good to get the blessing of the Divine Beast. Most people do not know that Eminem has obtained the indestructible flame before, which is equivalent to the blessing of the double Divine Beast, and it is a Divine Beast of a much higher grade than Shirobie. However, looking at the way Eminem's eyes were shining, the director knew that Eminem was very satisfied with the effect of this blessing. And it is true, Rabishi, at least the Rabbi Shirobie thousands of years ago, is indeed not a very powerful beast, like the King Ho and Xerneas who were blessed by Uchiha Madara and Senjuju. Gods and beasts are incomparable. Even Phoenix King and Xerneas back then were not just blessings, but a kind of recognition, which gave them some power, at least in Eminem's opinion. Even the expired flame of immortality is more effective than Rabbi's blessing. After all, Rabbi's blessing is only on the Shakaris armor piece, and now it is only attached to Arduin, who uses the material to evolve, and the indestructible flame directly acts on our Mew. The latter is quite for the whole team buff. However, natural reply is still very practical for the super armored crazy rhinoceros. If it doesn't come into play, then don't mention it. but once it comes into play, it can avoid the abnormal state and reduce Arduin's combat effectiveness. More importantly, natural regeneration and Eminem's existing regeneration trainer version can also form a synergy point. If you just replace the Pokémon for natural regeneration, it is equivalent to losing skills and disrupting the rhythm. But after the end, you can also recover an extra amount of physical strength, so rounding up is not a loss. Seeing Emu's high spirits, the guide thought about the 5-star trainers in the gym and mourned for them first, but then thought of the newcomer, the 4-star trainer who obviously only wanted to stay temporarily. Trainer, it seems that it is not impossible to. When Armu found Leixi, who was watching the challenges of other trainers' gymnasium, the latter was still surprised why Armu came out so early today. After learning that Arduin has evolved, Leixi also notes that the 7-day special training of Armu has come to an end point. Before leaving the gym, Eminem and Leixi made an appointment to challenge the gymnasium with the 5th badge. On June 14th, 3 days later, and Leixi wanted to challenge the 4th badge point on the 15th. Eminem and Leixi will go to Leixi Resort. Although it is still a dryleaf city in theory, it still needs to take a long distance train and is far from the city center. Complete the gym challenge. Chapter 168. 3 days before the gym challenge, Armu sent Arduin back to the Iron Armored Rhino Ranch. Firstly to rest, and secondly to adapt to the evolved strength point. And during these 3 days, Eminem will also inspect the training progress of other Pokémon. It's so disappointing to me. You haven't learned it until now. Just because I have been training with Arduin recently, you are herding sheep, right? Look at AK. How can you be able to know whether I'm present or not? It's the same. In the field of the battle club, Eminem called all the 8 Pokémon over except Arduin. At this time, it seemed that the teacher was summing up after the exam and rebuked them in front of them. Point as for why all 8 are there, because Ghost Stone and Pip is foster care places in Deadleaf City, so they came here on foot with Mew, and at this time, Mew didn't have the Pokeballs that could take them back. Point after some investigation, Eminem found that only Cassie had completed the task he assigned. Really, it's useless to use animal senses to explain the truth. Most Pokemon's thinking consciousness is like a child's. Even if you can persuade it to study hard, you still need the necessary supervision and guidance. Otherwise, it will start to herd the sheep. Even if it is not intentional to herd sheep, the effect of self-training is generally not as good as when there is a trainer to supervise. As for how much the difference can be, it depends on the level of the trainer. Although Ghost Stone and Pippi are not children, but they are probably playing around at the Security Research Institute recently, and they don't pay much attention to training point. Even though Eminem had set the goal better than when he was guiding the training, only Ake was still the only one who completed it. Point on the one hand, it's because Cassie of the psychic system is originally an extremely intelligent Pokémon with a thinking close to that of a human, and on the other hand, boss, is it possible that Ake didn't train well when you were here, so it's the same whether you're here or not? Pippi asked directly, raising his short arm. Slim Shady. So it's because Ake doesn't respect the boss as much as we do, right, Ghost? Ghost Stone further concluded. Slim Shady. Hey, little fox face, what do you mean, Ghost? You looking down on the boss and us, Ghost Stone and Pippi try to bully K, but the latter ignores them. Sit down, you two. Have the guts to say it? You two are the slowest. Eminem was not distracted by the two of them, but the boss. I helped Dr. Security catch the culprit of the haunted ghost, Gissy. That's right. Didn't Dr. Security also thank you for coming? We have other work to do, and they have no reason. Pippi and Ghost Stone rightly accused our lion, who was still chewing grass leaves, our men with 3 silly faces, a coffin with no facial features, except a pair of PIs, and the most embarrassing Nido. As for Boom, they are still a little afraid, because Boom will really fight them if he is impatient. You guys still have the nerve to mention hauntings? Genji UI of Dr. Security's Research Institute can't stand the two of you anymore, and wants to run away from home. Armu shouted immediately. That's right. The haunting of Dr. Security's Research Institute has been solved. Just 2 days ago, the Gen Ghost in the Research Institute finally couldn't help but wanted to run away, but just happened to bump into it. Zyozzy said goodbye to Dr. Sakuragi at the research institute, and Zyozzy happened to be accepted by Zyozzy. Zyozzy told Armu yesterday, when he came to bid farewell to Armu, "Boss, if you are so fierce, we will also run away from home, Ghost." Ghoststone reminded him righteously. At this time, Armu took out the illustration book and dialed Zyozzy's contact information, but unfortunately Zyozzy should already be on the way. There is no signal. Pippi reminded Ghoststone in a low voice, "The boss must want to ask that stupid thing. Do you want to change Jing GUI, Ghost?" Stone. Eminem looked over, smiled slightly. Ghoststone trembled and said, "No, I think the boss must want to say, or 2 for 1. I'll give you an extra pick." OC Ghoststone. 2 for 1. 2 for 1. But why am I the one? Slim Shady. Seeing that Pippi and Ghoststone were about to quarrel again, Armu knocked on the broadcasting station in the training room and said, "Okay, it's also my fault. These 3 days, we have to make up for it. Look at Arduin. The reason why he can evolve so quickly, it's because it has the armored ghost blessed by the beast. The words show that we traveled back to 1,000 years ago together. Shrabby is so mean. Gissy, hell." Stone and Pippi are emphasizing the objective reasons again, and Eminem corrects, "No, everyone thinks that it will take longer for Arduin to evolve, and the reason why it only took a week is because Arduin never slackens in training himself." Beep. Beep. In the middle of Eminem's speech, his picture book rang, and it seemed that there was a video call seeing the logo of Iron Armored Rhino Ranch displayed on the screen. Arduin answered the call quickly, thinking that it was because Arduin had not adapted after his evolution and hurt other iron armored rhinos. Sorry, feel sorry. Armu found that the other party was also apologizing. As soon as he answered, the ranch was also taken aback. Then the staff of the ranch quickly explained, "Sorry, Mr. Eminem, just now we found out that your iron super armored rhinoceros has bred with our female iron armored rhinoceros. It is because we have not been adopted yet. The armored rhino is right, but it really wasn't guided by us." Regarding the follow-up costs, Slim Shady. Puff. Don't laugh so loudly, Gissy. The boss will hear you. Eminem went out with a dark face and talked with the other party about the fee. Of course they had to pay Eminem's fee. After all, this can be regarded as borrowing without informing the trainer. This is a relatively serious problem in the cultivation house industry. Generally, even in the training room, if there is a Pokémon that attracts opposites, the trainers of both parties will be notified first. Of course, Armu didn't blackmail anyone. After all, Armu believed that it must be that guy Arduin who did it himself. After returning to the training room, Pippi specially reminded, "Boss, do you want to bring Arduin back too? It's obviously not familiar with the power." Pippi condemned Arduin's behavior and wanted to interrupt. "It's not just that it's not familiar with the power. It's estimated that in the past 3 days, it may just get acquainted with the evolved position of GUIC." Ghoststone also made up the knife. "Take care of yourselves." Amu gave the two of them a blank look and decided not to bother Arduin for the time being, and if he doesn't perform well in the gym challenge in 2 days, let him make up for it twice. Chapter 169 New Gym Trainer. For 3 consecutive days, Eminem supervised and directed the training of Pokémon other than Arduin. As a result, Eminem is also looking forward to entering the realm of multiple in-depth communication as soon as possible. When multiple Pokémon are in the state of animal perception at the same time, won't they be able to easily learn skills from each other? Also, it would be nice if humans could also learn skills sometimes. Eminem can't wait to learn these skills by himself, and then use the in-depth communication method to teach Pokémon directly. On June 14th, Eminem and Zyarksha had already booked tickets for tomorrow, and they both came to the Deadleaf Gymnasium full of confidence, ready to pass in one go, because the two made an appointment in advance. They just arrived in the morning, and saw the times of their respective gymnasium. Battles. Eminem, who challenged the 5th badge, also saw his opponent in advance. As for the first 4 badges, there will be no advance. Announce the opponent, because it is the same against everyone. Starting from the 5th badge, gym challengers can know their opponents a few hours in advance. It can be regarded as the convenience of doing homework. If you know your opponent in advance, you can have time to adjust your skills and choose a Linux point. Firstly, it is an honest reason, that is, cultivate trainers' tactical awareness. Secondly, it can also increase the income of some official gyms. After all, if you want to do your homework, you have to watch more gymnasium challenges before point. Gym challenges with less than 9 badges are forbidden to be videotaped. If you want to watch it, you can only watch it on the spot for a fee. My gym challenges in the morning, and your matches in the afternoon. I'll take a look at the opponent, Leixi said, helping Amu to find out the matches on the bulletin board. Little Wolf. Leixi couldn't help being puzzled when she saw the name. Why haven't I seen this gym trainer before? A trainer next to him, who was also watching the announcement, spoke up at this moment. Little Wolf became a 5-star trainer only 2 days ago, so it's unlucky for you to find him randomly, recently. Leixi was also speechless for a while when she heard the words, co-authoring with herself for nothing these days. Fortunately, Leixi is not all there to help Eminem observe the opponent, so more than half of the time is actually watching the quality round of 7 or 8 badges. To be precise, he became a gym trainer only recently. It is said that he is a newcomer trainer from the Gala region. Because he wanted to ask the Gold Gym Master for advice, he temporarily moved in. After that, he quickly became a 5-star trainer. The passerby told out what he knew in a very talkative manner. Become a 5-star trainer quickly? Leixi looked at Amu upon hearing this kind of new gym trainer is not good news for the challenger. After all, the opponent is also rising star and has not yet found his true position, especially this Little Wolf. From what the passerby trainer said, Eminem guessed that he wanted to see the gym master Jin, but because the gym master Jin definitely didn't have time to talk to him recently, so he temporarily worked as a gym trainer in this case, compared to providing moderately difficult challenges. He definitely wants to express himself, but Eminem wasn't too worried. After all, even if the difficulty increased, there was always a limit. It was like meeting someone who likes to ask questions. It's not always possible to give primary school students, college students questions, and if it's too difficult, they may reduce points, that is, they lose in the challenge of the gymnasium, but the referees specially give the challenge a pass. This is not the case. Point. If the opponent directly burst out the strength of 8 badges, Amu does not believe that the Deadwood Gymnasium will not give the badges, not to mention that Amu now feels that it is not impossible for him to challenge 8 badges. This Little Wolf. Are you sure it's a rookie trainer? The one within a year? Eminem asked at this time. I've also heard people say that I only received the illustrated book in Gala in March this year. I don't know why, but I came directly to the Kanto area, and I didn't challenge the gym. The passerby trainer said uncertainly. Too detailed information, he just heard it. At noon, there will be a gym confrontation with this Little Wolf in the 303 venue. Leixi searched for a long time on the bulletin board, and found that there was another challenge 2 hours in front of Eminem at the same venue. The trainer of the gymnasium is also Lang. It should be the previous game of Eminem, just before lunch. My time is up. Please wait for me first. Leixi glanced at the time, and then said to Amu. Gym challenges for the first 4 badges are not open to the public. Although Deadly City is an electric type gymnasium, and Leixi, a water type trainer, is somewhat restrained, but Amu reckons that with Leixi's strength, there should be no problem. Attributes aren't everything after all. Sure enough, not long after, Leixi came back and held out her badge box with 4 badges to Eminem. Let's go. Let's go to 303 first and see that Little Wolf's gymnasium assessment. After Leixi's challenge, she was just in time for the Little Wolf session before lunch. Eminem doesn't reject this either, although he is confident and doesn't think that he needs to do his homework to challenge the first 8 badges, but since the answers are all in front of him, he won't be so obsessed with cleanliness. There is no idea of knowing his strength in advance. It will be dishonorable to win when they came to the battlefield. In room 303 on the 3rd floor, Amu and Leixi saw that both sides had arrived in advance, and besides Amu and Leixi, there were less than 10 people in the audience. 2 of them were challengers. His companion is still encouraging him at this time, and the others should also come to investigate the enemy's situation. At this time, the little wolf was sitting alone on the bench on the other side, with his eyes closed, and he didn't care about anyone. The challenge for the 5th and 6th badges usually doesn't have many audiences. They are all relatives and friends and other challengers who come to do their homework. Little Wolf has a strong reputation in the Deadwood gym recently, so this is still a viewing. There are many people. As for the venue with 5 or 6 badges, under normal circumstances, there is no essential difference between the layout and the venue for the first 4 badge challenges. Only the challenge with 7 or 8 badges will have a dedicated auditorium. In other words, the audience seats with 5 or 6 badges are all standing tickets, and you have to protect yourself. The audience, please release the Pokémon, but don't affect the duel. Malicious interference will be recorded and submitted to the Alliance. The referee looked at the time, then looked at the audience, and said point. Although they will not intentionally attack outside the arena, the gymnasium does not provide protection measures for the auditorium. Of course, the ticket price is also cheaper, but because of this, there will be no ordinary spectators here. The ones that can really make money are the gym challenges that start with 7 or 8 badges, especially the challenge with more than 8 badges. Not only does it have a large viewing scale, but it also allows the gym to record videos for sale. Armu was about to release the Pokémon, but Zyarksha stopped him, and then she released the gem starfish to block herself, and Armu obviously he didn't want Emu to be exposed in front of the little wolf. Even for the gym challenge for the 5th badge, only 4 Pokémon were needed, so exposing one is actually nothing. Armu also looked at the little wolf at this time, opened his eyes, got up and walked to the end of the venue. Although he didn't open his mouth, he just kept a straight face, but from his expression and temperament, Eminem felt that this man is of the same type as a certain dwarf detective, a certain short tennis player, a certain school's number 11 basketball player. Standard doubles rules. Pokémon from both sides enter the field. Following the referee's announcement, coyotes did not send out commonly used Pokémon of the same type, but the first 2 did embody the characteristics of Galarians, or Thunderbird Sea Beast, and a Thunderbird Dragon appeared on Little Wolf Field. Both of these are fossils unearthed in the Galar region. Although the Pokémon born after resurrection look weird and are misspelled, no matter how you look at it, they are indeed normal. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. So it was this kind of. I saw the 2 Pokémon on Little Wolf's Field, both of which have small upper bodies, and the characteristics of Dragonall as it can be vaguely seen in the head, but the lower body, in contrast, it is abnormally huge. Thunderbird Dragon and Thunderbird Sea Beast are the second of the 4 characteristic fossil Pokémon in the Galar region. Their attributes are just like their names. The former is electricity plus dragon and the latter is electricity plus water. Although in the Alliance era, due to the expansion of the scope of human activities, these 4 types of Pokémon were not completely absent in other areas, but these 4 types of fossils were only found in the Galar area. All 4 have a race value of 505, and they all have a special skill that will be mastered naturally as they grow up, that is, the notorious Gill Bite and Electric Beak. In the battle. The 2 skills of water and electricity are not very powerful in themselves, only a mediocre 85 points, but if the opponent is not in the skill ready state, when it hits the opponent, it will exert additional concussion damage, and the damage caused is equivalent to double the power. Note 1. In the wild, that's all. When facing 1 vs 1 on the battlefield, it's better to be faster than the opponent. If you are not as good as them, you will face the choice of not using skills, or being attacked by superpowers. Of course, Eminem is not worried about the other party taking out Gill Biting and Electric Beak. After all, these 2 moves can only be awakened naturally after they have grown to more than 60 levels, and they cannot be learned in advance. If the little wolf is a Pokémon of more than 60 levels, Eminem will report it to Juncture on the spot. No. its reporting union. Apart from skills, the biggest feature of the 4 is not coordinated. No matter how you look at it, it looks like the product of Zhangguan Liday's misspelling of the upper and lower body. Isn't this a typo? It was also the first time for Xiaoxia to actually see these two kinds of Pokémon. Impossible. Direct a child. No, it was Kid who pretended to be direct a child at that time. Didn't he give us science education? You reminded point indeed. When they were at the Nabi City Museum, Eminem and Xiaoxia also listened to the explanation. The so-called resurrection of fossils technology does not really turn fossils into living creatures, but the core of vitality found in some fossils stimulates their life potential and then creates resurrected fossil Pokémon. In other words, there is no case of resurrecting multiple fossil Pokémon with the same fossil, nor is there a situation where different fossils are spliced together to resurrect a spliced Pokémon. It was not originally resurrection of fossils directly. Then, could it be that there is a problem with the core of life itself? Xiaoxia still believes in her own feelings. Thunderbird Sea Beast and Thunderbird Dragon are not like normal Pokémon. I don't really understand it. You didn't study this aspect in depth, nor did she rush to deny Xiaoxia point. After all, what is the core of life? Even fossil scholars may not know point. The two technologies of elf ball and fossil resurrection sound very high-end, but in this world, they belong to the typical lead abric flying technology. The former is because of the raw material cones, and the latter is because of life. The core is something that is convenient for resurrection. In fact, human beings don't know much about it. Dr. Jumu has been studying the former, hoping to decipher some basic principles. Now, the second of the 4 characteristic Pokémons of Galar, who is facing the little wolf, the challenger releases Crossing Mountain King and Frogweed to fight against him. I have to say that the frog grass that has not evolved to its final form has lost its momentum, but, normally speaking, the difficulty of challenging 5 badges does not necessarily have to reach the level of the evolved frog flower, and frog grass can also be trained to the competition level. Challenger also specially released Pokémon that are resistant to electricity. However, facing Thunderbird Sea Beast and Thunderbird Dragon at this time, the challengers Chuanshan King and Wonder Frog Grass felt a little cowardly at first sight. Don't look at the Thunderbird Sea Beast and Thunderbird Dragon with funny postures. But at this time the momentum completely overwhelmed the challenger as a little wolf said go. The 2 fossil Pokémon swung their huge tails and rushed towards Chuanshan Wang and Froggrass. After running, he seemed even more uncoordinated, but his strength was not weak at all. Under the urging of the trainer, King Chuanshan and Froggrass dared to touch them, but they were no match at all. From strength to movement speed, Chuanshan Wang and Froggrass are no match at all. Even if the opponent's short forelimbs are not good in battles other than skills, it is difficult for a small mouth to play the role of sharp teeth. But the huge tail with a flick, the King Chuanshan and Froggrass can be knocked into the air. Then it really is the little wolf's Pokémon. The first step is to prepare the skills. Chuanshan Wang has a ground type, and Froggrass has a grass type, both of which are resistant to electricity. Especially the former, which is almost immune to the power of the same level of electricity. But, Little Wolf was never a trainer in an electric gym before. I saw Thunderbird Dragon opened its mouth, and in its small mouth, the ability of the dragon element was condensed at this time. Emma whispered in surprise. Thunderbird Dragon has a higher physical attack racial value, but its special attack is not low, and it is not uncommon to be able to Dragon Wave. Xiaoxia explained while looking at the illustrated book. She also thought that Eminem was surprised that the Thunderbird Dragon used the special attack skill, Dragon Wave, but she didn't know that. In fact, Eminem was surprised that just now he seemed to feel the little wolf also use the Dragon Wave similarly. The fluctuation of the fluctuation. It's just that the little wolf didn't really use his skills. At the same time, the little wolf also took a look at Eminem off the field, as if he had noticed his perception. Thunderbird Dragon's Dragon Wave directly caused the Chuanshan King to suffer heavy injuries. After being knocked into the air, he fell to the ground and got up with some difficulty. After all, Chuanshan Wang's ground system is not resistant to the dragon system, but on the contrary, the defense is low, and only the material defense is prominent. Point on the other hand, Thunderbird Sea Beast, which has a lower speed and race value, also prepared its skills one step ahead of Froggrass. When it flicked the shark's tail, ice energy condensed in the surrounding air, and a burst of ice mixed with snow. The strong airflow hit the froggrass. The froggrass was restrained by the ice system instead. After being blown by the cold air brought by this freeze-drying, the flower buds on the back were a little wilted. This time, Eminem, who observed specially this time, felt more clearly that before the Pokémon used its skills, this little wolf had similar fluctuations in his body. First, newcomer trainer in the Galar region, Zylaksha, do you remember what Zyagagang said last time? Amu asked pointedly. Huh? Pretty big sister, wait for me. Zylaksha looked at Amu wonderingly, not understanding why he asked this. I'm talking about the time at the campsite by the lake. At that time, it was also Amu and Zylaksha who were talking about can human beings learn skills. Zyagagang interjected. I remember that in the Galar region, there are similar legends. It seems that there is a kind of wizard school or something, which sends letters to talented people and invites them to enroll. Correct. It is said that many years ago, there was a very strong wizard who returned to the city after Galar completed his studies and made some cards. Note 1. In the game, these two skills are do the move before the opponent, then the power will be doubled. But because of the setting in this book, the battle is not turn-based, there is no round. So the second setting is the opponent is not in the when the skill is ready, the damage is doubled. In this way, for a Pokémon that is faster than the Gillichthyosaur, it is easy to get stuck with the opponent's skills, so that its Gill Bite will always do double damage. Skills, or take double damage, the same is slow, and will be severely injured. Chapter 171 Magic? Pokémon Skills? The result of the battle was as expected. The little wolf easily defeated the challenger. The challengers for Pokémon all lose their fighting power, and the duel is over. With the referee's announcement, the challenger's side ended in a dismal situation, and when he looked at the referee with last hope, he found that he didn't respond to his intentions, so he had to leave in the comfort of his companions. It is true that the strength shown by the little wolf is definitely not at the level of 5 badges, and this is only 2 Pokémon. However, the strength shown by the challenger is only passable. But it is not the undisputed strength of the 5 badges. Naturally, the referee will not make a correction. This guy obviously shouldn't have a 5-star assessment difficulty, Zylaksha said angrily. Point at this time, after the little wolf took back the Pokémon, he walked off the battlefield, and Eminem hurriedly took 2 steps to follow. Point Zylaksha still didn't understand what was going on, so she quickly followed. After seeing the situation. Point originally, the passage on the trainer side of the gymnasium was no entry for outsiders, but the referee glanced at Eminem, but didn't say much. He also knew that he was the guest of the gymnasium owner. Amu chased from the passage on the side of the trainer, only to find that the little wolf was leaning on the wall of the aisle, with a concave shape. Even Amu suspected that this guy even chose the position specially for the light and shadow effects. Slim Shady. Sure enough, they are the same type as those guys. You really felt it. The little wolf looked at Emu with a wicked smile. How did you do it? Eminem suspects that the little wolf has learned Pokémon skills to some extent, although he can't really use it directly. He should really learn it. Point on the one hand, through observation, I discovered some abnormalities when the little wolf was commanding the Pokémon to fight. On the other hand, it was also because I remembered the rumor that Zyagagang said before. Point of course, there are also keywords such as Magic Academy. What card? Little wolf. These keywords made Eminem have some associations. Eminem is not interested in the Clo cards, nor does he want to know whether Voldemort will be resurrected, but if he wants to say, let humans learn Pokémon skills, then he will not be sleepy. Point combined with animal perception. This is exactly what Eminem needs. It seems that you also belong to the talented type. Unfortunately, you are not from Galar, and you are a bit old now. The little wolf shook his head as he said. Point Amu resisted his affectation, took a deep breath and asked, so, you are from Galar? It is said that there is a magic school there, is it true? No. Little wolf said, and shook his head. Point. When Eminem was wondering, did I guess wrong? Zyagagang continued, First of all, there are 3 magic academies in the Galar region, which are located on the main island, the island of Armor, and the Crown Snowfield. In addition, I'm not from Galar. Just because of blood reasons, I went to study for a few years. Note 1, Amu's eyes lit up when he heard this 3 families. Hi 3, you can try more. The so-called magic means you can learn Pokémon skills? Eminem asked with burning eyes. Not exactly. Magic is magic, Pokémon skills are Pokémon skills. I told you, but you don't understand. But it is true that in some cases, the two can be equated. Xiaolang was very confident and said confidently. Eminem quickly asked what he was most concerned about. Aside from being invited, is there any other way to enroll? Eminem guessed there must be some, otherwise, Little Wolf didn't need to talk so much to himself. He should have some purpose of his own point. If it's just for the sake of showing off superiority, then I'll have a fight with him immediately and then complain to the Alliance about the beating of the gym trainer. There's nothing you can do about the academy. You're almost graduating. Halfway through Xiaolang's words, Emu had already stretched his hands to his waist. However, if you are only interested in magic, you can help me find someone, to be precise, a family. There will naturally be other ways for you to learn magic. Xiaolang continued. Obviously this is his purpose. You said all this for this reason? Eminem looked at the little wolf with some puzzlement. The little wolf saw Eminem's doubts, and after a moment of silence, he asked, your sense of magic is very keen. Generally speaking, people who have never learned magic should not be like this. You may belong to those with high spirituality type. Do you understand spirituality? If I didn't feel that you don't have the breath of magic, I would have thought you were also a Pokémon wizard. Pokémon wizard? What kind of new job is this? Eminem had no time to complain, but asked directly, so what do you want me to find for you? A deck of cards. I don't know what it looks like, but it should be in the Quartz Alliance. Your words, as long as you see it, you will know what cards I'm talking about. At this time, the little wolf said himself real purpose. Eminem heard the words and asked directly, Clo card, little wolf. The little wolf obviously got stuck, and after a while he asked urgently, where did you hear that? I heard from my friends that there is a magic academy in Galar, and people from Chengdu once went there to study, and after returning to Chengdu, they even made kilo cards. Eminem could only do this first explain. Of course, in fact, the name Kuro brand is not in the folk rumors, Chengdu. So that's the case. No wonder. Xiaolang looked stunned. Eminem guessed that he came to look for the Clo card, but there has been no rumors, and looking at him like this, he should only know that he is in the Quartz Alliance, so he has been looking for it in Guangdu. So, how can I learn magic? Eminem asked at this time, with the air of you have already got the information from me. Don't think about whoring for nothing. Upon seeing this, the little wolf said, magic is very complicated. From your layman's point of view, Eminem was ready to take out the dick from his waist, but fortunately, the little wolf continued immediately, it can be simply regarded as a prelude to Pokémon skills, but because humans don't have the corresponding genes, they can't really use them. At that time, Pokémon Wizard thought of an alternative method, which is to use Pokémon materials as spellcasting materials. From the unstable one-time spellcasting materials at the beginning, to about 1,000 years ago, the Galar region gradually formed a stable genre, that is, using a magic wand to cast spells. Of course, there is an easier way to use it, that is to cooperate with Pokémon, and only in this way can the greatest effect be exerted. Amu vaguely understands that, to a certain extent, the skills of Thunderbird Dragon and Thunderbird Sea Beast just now should be used by the Coyotes, and the two Pokémon are equivalent to magic wands. When Eminem was thinking about the relationship, Little Wolf said naturally, so, you trainers can just train Pokémon honestly. In fact, they are no different from us wizards. Don't worry, haha, although, he said don't care. Eminem always felt that his tone had already made him think of you, ignorant trainers and our glorious wizards. These keywords are all in his head. You guy, you belong to the snake court in Hogwarts, right? Eminem asked unhappily. The little wolf was surprised when he heard the words. How did you hear about the snake court? The rumors outside are already so specific But immediately he said, it is a matter of course. Of course I belong to the Snake Academy. To be precise, it's the Curalido branch. Slim Shady. Note 1. It is said that Li Xiaolang is said to be Chinese, but there is no region corresponding to China in Pokémon, so let's leave nothing about Li Xiaolang's life experience. Maybe the 10th generation is based on a certain region in China. In addition, everyone should have already seen that in the randomly fabricated settings of this book, the worldviews of Magic Sakura and Harry Potter are the same. Chapter 172 Founder. Because Xiaoxia took the wrong fork in the road, she was delayed for a while. When she caught up, she found that Xiaolang was talking to Armu. In short, if you help me find the Clo card, I can consider helping you learn the above skills, said the little wolf to Eminem. After thinking for a while, Eminem said, wait, that is to say, each kilo card corresponds to a certain Pokémon skill. The little wolf was embarrassed when he heard the words and realized that he seemed to have said too much, and then saw Eminem smiled slightly. So, if I find the Clo card, do you still need to teach me? You think you can know how to use it yourself? Little wolf gave him a blank look, as if he didn't care, then turned and left. What's the matter? What did you say? When Xiaoxia stepped forward, she only saw the back of the little wolf turning away rudely. I said some very interesting things. Eminem was also a little distracted and was sorting out these things in his mind. It seems that the little wolf wants to use his high spirituality to help him find the Clo card, so he revealed some things to himself. As for whether this spirituality is that spirituality, Eminem does not know. Sure point, but if nothing else, the reason why I have this kind of spirituality should also be the credit of God's way. After all, the moon path is originally a spiritually sensitive type. Obviously, there is also a Hogwarts school of witchcraft and wizardry in this world, but the magic of this world is also very Pokémon, while the ancient people in the Sinnoh area were using cones to smash wild Pokémon. The ancient people in the Galar area were also trying to use another way to use the power of Pokémon, that is, using Pokémon. The materials produced by Pokémon are used as spellcasting materials, so that humans can also use the power of Pokémon skills. About 1,000 years ago, the magic wand system was stabilized, and magic wands made of Pokémon materials were used to cast spells, which belonged to the final form of the Pokémon material spellcasting flow. At the same time, the Kanto area is entering the Ninja Village era, but now Pokémon Ninja has long been a selling point of the tourism industry, and Pokémon Wizard is still active behind the scenes. The 3 major magic academies in the Galar area still exist, but they are not known to the public. Of course, this is unknown. At most it is unknown to ordinary people, and the Galar Alliance must know it. After all, unlike in Harry Potter, the wizards in this world are just another way to indirectly grasp the power of Pokémon, and it is impossible to sever ties with ordinary people. Because of this there may be some arrogance, but it is wishful thinking to say that you can look down on non-wizards. How many kings do you have in Hogwarts? How dare you be so proud? In addition, Eminem was really curious to ask Little Wolf about the 4 founders of Hogwarts. Although Eminem doesn't know much about Harry Potter and can't remember the name of Snake House, at least he remembers that it is definitely not Killer Lido. However, from the Little Wolf, Eminem learned that in this world of Hogwarts, the 4 founders are Gryffindor, who has the power of the mythical beast King of Swords, Kanxiang and King of Shields Amarant, Hufflepuff, who has the power, Ravenclaw, who has obtained the power of King of Legend, Kingly Crown, and Chlorid, who has stolen some unknown extraterrestrial power. Obviously the rumor provided by Xiaogang is not accurate. Chlorido not only learned magic in the Galar region, but was one of the 4 founders who founded Hogwarts about 800 years ago. And judging from the sources of power of the other 3 founders, Eminem suspects Killer Lido's power should be related to Wu-Ji-Tainer, but Wu-Ji-Tainer is still a mystery in this world. In particular, what Eminem wanted to complain about was Gryffindor and Kanxiang. Hufflepuff and Zamarant, these 2 pairs really match. Mention the Lion Court, mention the King of Swords, the names of Gryffindor and Arn will naturally come to mind, but mention the Badger Court, mention the King of Shields. Remember the name. Note 1. As for what Eminem is most concerned about how to learn magic, the Magic Academy is temporarily hopeless, and they will not accept older students like Eminem. But Xiaolang promised Eminem, as long as he finds the clue card for him, you can help Eminem learn the corresponding skills on the card point in this regard. Eminem can only say that after 2 months, I will go to the city area by myself, and I will pay attention to it. As for whether I can find it, Eminem does not know. After all, it is not even clear whether Sakura has scattered the cards. I don't know, maybe in some basement to keep it safe. As for how to use the clue cards, do you need the little wolf to teach you? Eminem isn't sure either. After all, my inspiration is so high, and, at worst, you can also women's clothing plus painting hammer, and then try to shout seal release at the card. Let's go have lunch first, and then you will have a duel with that little wolf. Xiaoxia reminded. Amu nodded. During the duel, you can observe further, even try to influence the specific spellcasting process of that little wolf. The challenger just now obviously didn't have any ability to force the little wolf point at this time. Xiaoxia was complaining about the Withered Leaf Gym. Why is there such a strong trainer in the 5-star gym at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Eminem returned to the 303 battlefield on time and found that not only the referee was the same as before, but the audience was basically the same as before, just a few more, probably pulled by his companions. I also vaguely heard them talking about I can see Gala Pokémon. This 5-star trainer's assessment is extremely difficult and so on point. After the time was up, the little wolf came to the gymnasium trainer's field with a cool face again, and Emu also stepped forward when he saw this. 4 versus 4 standard doubles rules. Please release the starting Pokémon at the same time. As soon as the referee's voice fell, the little wolf saw the dual type Gala fossil Pokémon on his side, and on the side of Eminem, there was a super armored wild rhino that looked proud of spring, and a 3-faced smirking coconut tree. Go. Thunderbird Dragon, Thunderbird Sea Beast, break under the command of the little wolf. The two seemingly unharmonious fossil Pokémon swayed their strong lower limbs and charged forward. Seeing this, the super armored wild rhino rushed forward. Note 1. King of Sword and King of Shield is because in PvP, the practicality of Kangxiang, King of Sword crushed Zamarant, King of Shield. As a result, the King of Shield, who is also a mythical beast on the cover, was almost forgotten. In the 8th generation, the beast on the cover is Kangxiang. As for Gryffindor and that, anyway, Bendong doesn't know much about Harry Potter, so he only remembers the former. Chapter 173 Wizard and Trainer. On the 303 dual battlefield of the Withered Leaf Gym, the two electric type fossil Pokémon of the little wolf collided with the super armored wild rhino. I saw Thunderbird Dragon and Thunderbird Sea Beast slammed their huge tails at the last moment and lashed towards the super armored wild rhinoceros, while the super armored wild rhinoceros firmly stretched out two arms made of rocks, one by one. Hold them all together. Huh. Didn't you say that the two electric type fossil Pokémon of this gym trainer have elite level strength? It's indeed like this in the morning, but this super armored wild rhinoceros is also very strong. After all, it is a ground system, so it may not be too strong. However, the challenger this time also watched the previous duel, knowing that the opponent's Thunderbird Sea Beast can freeze dry. He actually started the super armored crazy rhinoceros. It should be that there are no other Pokémon that restrain the electric type. The onlookers started talking in a low voice at this moment. Although at the moment of the collision, the feet of the super armored mad rhino slid back a little, which stopped the retreat, but it still resisted the frontal collision with one enemy and 2. Amu estimates that the Thunderbird Dragon and Thunderbird Sea Beast of the little wolf should be about the same level as Arduin, both in their forces and less than 50. And their combat power is close to 30,000, which is the so-called the elite class of. However, the super armored wild rhino's physical attack has a race value of 140 points, which is so powerful that it can be imagined. And the general attacks of the Thunderbird and the two beasts are mainly attacks with electric element. And this is for the super armored Kuangxi. It is completely ineffective. Coconut Egg Tree was standing aside at this moment, and it wasn't idle. 3 pairs of eyes flashed Thunderbird Dragon suddenly slipped and was pushed away violently by Super Armored Rhinoceros, and then freed up a hand. The Super Armored Wild Rhinoceros directly hugged the shark tail of the Thunderbird Sea Beast, grabbed by the other hand. Then the Super Armored Wild Rhinoceros twisted its waist and limbs and directly pulled the shark's tail, throwing the Thunderbird and Sea Beast over the shoulder. Of course, this is not a fighting skill, but a simple shoulder fall. The few spectators also exclaimed again and again, point according to their level. If there is such a level of excitement in Beyond skills, it is already considered a high-end round point. The Thunderbird Sea Beast that was thrown out rolled twice on the ground, but stood up immediately. Point, and the Thunderbird Dragon, who was pushed out just because of the influence of the coconut egg tree's thought power, slipped his foot and wanted to encircle Weddy and save Zao, but it was already a step too late. Armin is the opposite of Arduin. They don't fight it hard, they jump left, jump right, and run around the field full of hatred. At this moment, they pass by Arduin, and Arduin grabs him. The big tail of Thunderbird Dragon, with both hands together, he pulled it backwards. But at this moment, the Thunderbird Dragon with the fastest skill preparation speed in the field was also ready. At this time, Eminem was staring at the little wolf and saw that the corner of his mouth moved, as if he was muttering something, and then the small head and upper limbs of the Thunderbird Dragon bent down from his strong legs below. A dragon-type energy shock was sprayed out, facing the dragon wave with such a tricky angle. Arduin, who was not good at dodging, naturally had no choice but to bear it. Point, although it is a special attack skill that the Super Armored Mad Rhino is not good at dealing with, but fortunately, Arduin has sufficient physical strength, and he only took a few steps back when he fired Dragon Wave, and couldn't help but let go of the tail of the Thunderbird Dragon. Point, immediately afterwards, the skills of Thunderbird and Sea Beast were also ready, and the coyotes muttered again. Amu felt that if the trainer also participated in the battle, he could completely interrupt his casting. In addition, after 2 careful observations, Eminem found that every time the little wolf casts spells, it starts after the Pokémon skills are ready. Probably this should also be the phenomenon of Pokémon wizard casting spells. As for the difference between casting spells in this way and Pokémon's own moves, it remains to be seen further. If it's just making Pokémon use skills that they have genes but haven't learned, it would be a bit tasteless after all. This obviously also takes up the opportunity for Pokémon to activate skills at 2 points that Eminem mainly wants to verify are whether this will make the power of the move stronger, or whether the power is determined by the caster or the Pokémon, and does the move released in this way take up the Pokémon's own power. For dominant positions, if it does not occupy the skill position, it is quite practical. After all, you can add a few more skills in disguise, and if the power of spellcasting depends not on the attributes of Pokémon, but on a certain ability of the trainer, it is not the same as the trainer. The difference is even more essential, with the little wolf chattering again. Thunderbird and Sea Beast shot, freeze-dried, at the Super Armored Crazy Rhinoceros. Apparently the little wolf also understands which one of Arduin and Armin he is the threatening output player. The ice system restrains the ground system of the Super Armored Rhino. Each has its own explanation for the attribute restraint. In Eminem's opinion, it is because the ground system is more inclined to the power of the Earth's fluctuations, while the ice system there is a side that makes everything static, so there is restraint. In addition, freeze drying is a special attack skill, which is still very painful for the Super Armored Crazy Rhinoceros. Fortunately, at least Arduin has the characteristic of hard rock, which weakens the damage from the restraint attribute compared to normal. The damage is high, but not that high. Point, more importantly, break at this moment, Arduin raised his head to the sky and roared furiously, and at the same time, the rock-like muscles visible to the naked eye seemed to swell even more. This is. The little wolf froze for a moment, then stared at Amu speechlessly and said, "A needle for a weak point." Many of the trainers onlookers didn't react, but some of them were well informed and explained to their companions. Yes, Eminem brought props to Pokémon again. Point, after all, it has been said that it is a standard rule, so of course props are not allowed. The effect of weak point needle is equivalent to the weak point insurance in the game, but it is not an insurance book, but a kind of material collected from the Pokémon with the characteristic of angry acupuncture. Special needles. When receiving a self-restraining attribute attack, this one-time acupuncture will take effect and stimulate the carrying Pokémon, making its physical attack and special attack excited by 2 stages, that is, increasing the physical attack and special attack by 2 stages. Special forces. Special attack was useless to Arduin, but when his physical attack increased by 2 steps, Arduin's aura suddenly became terrifying. Actually, broad weak point needle? No wonder you know that the other party will freeze dry. This seems to be a bit. At this moment, Eminem vaguely heard someone off the court criticizing him for using props. Therefore, Eminem, who has always been helpful to others, in order to prevent these young rookie trainers from going astray, said righteously, "This is your mistake. When facing the super armored Tyrannosaurus whose props are unknown, how can you? Before the decisive stage, how about easily using the attributes that restrain it to attack, Little Wolf?" It's true that professional trainers should have this awareness, but Little Wolf didn't take this seriously as a formal competition before, and, after all, he is a Pokémon wizard, not a Pokémon trainer, and Eminem is definitely a trainer's thinking, especially a battle type trainer's thinking. As a result, the Little Wolf is also faintly anxious. It seems that he has an advantage, but once the opponent's super armored rhinoceros skill that has improved 2 stages of attack erupts, the situation will definitely be reversed. Chapter 174 Clearing the Field. Although he is a rookie trainer and made his debut this year, after receiving the illustrated book, the essence of Xiaolang is still a Pokémon wizard. Not only is the way of thinking different, but also because of the close learning environment and the need for talent. As a Pokémon wizard, it is inevitable that we are the ones who use the abilities of Pokémon more directly and are more powerful and feel that Pokémon trainer is just muggles. Choice point. But now, Eminem used the logic of a trainer to vividly show him what a battle is. Facing the super armored rhinoceros with enhanced 2-stage physical attack, Xiaolang can only comfort himself as long as Thunderbird Dragon can prepare the second skill before the opponent's super armored rhinoceros skill is ready. Still want to kill, however, at this moment, Amen, who had prepared his skills 1 step earlier, directly opened a magic space. Little Wolf, the speed of the 2 sides was almost pulled together. Arduin, who was ready to use his skills, with strong claws, hammered on his chest at this moment, and roared, "Duin!" Immediately, I saw the energy of the rock system, and instantly formed several huge, spike-shaped rocks in mid-air, divided into 2 batches, and smashed towards the Thunderbird Sea Beast and Thunderbird Dragon respectively. The 2 who became the targets quickly dodged, but because Thunderbird Sea Beast moved awkwardly on land, and the effect of the shark's tail was weak, at this time it was slammed after dodging twice, while Thunderbird, although Bad Dragon is more flexible, it was disturbed by the tacit cooperation of our men, and it only escaped a wave. The reason why Earthquake is useless is naturally because I don't want to accidentally hurt our men. After all, our men hasn't been injured yet. Otherwise it wouldn't be impossible to deny it directly. When Eminem usually trains, he often instills a core idea in his Pokémon. On the battlefield, everyone is a family. If you want to love each other, you can also fight and fight, but on the battlefield, there are only tactics and no feelings. Who needs to sacrifice does not mean that whoever has a bad relationship with whomever, everything is for victory. The same is a wide range of skills. Without the comprehensive Earthquake, it is impossible to control the target of the attack and attack all the surrounding Pokémon in an all-round way, while the Rock type, Rock Avalanche, can choose the target by itself. Moreover, the Rock type actually restrains the Ice type, which is the same for Thunderbird Sea Beast, and it is not bad for Thunderbird Dragon. Rock Avalanche, after 2 stages of promotion, directly smashed the Thunderbird Dragon and Thunderbird Sea Beast for a while. Not only did the damage Heaven and Earth shatter, but also the effect of retreat directly set back the skill preparations of both of them. The Thunderbird Sea Beast of Electricity plus Ice was obviously not able to support his physical strength, and Xiaolang frowned when he saw this. Although the victory or defeat was not an important matter, he obviously didn't want to lose at this time. Thunderbird Sea Beast abstains, Little Wolf said, wanting Thunderbird Sea Beast to admit defeat and leave the field, and directly release the next Pokémon. But admitting Defeat does not require the opponent's consent, but if you just abstain from a Pokémon, you need the opponent's consent. After all, this is equivalent to changing without the skills already. It's just that the Pokémon that goes down cannot play again. Point without the referee asking. Eminem said directly, refuse to forfeit. Just kidding. Thunderbird Sea Beast is obviously exhausted now, and its attacks are weak. How could it let you go down? Unlike in the game, Pokémon can play 100% of its ability, even if it is not 1 HP. It's not that he wants to abuse people, but Eminem wants to use the half-disabled Thunderbird Sea Beast to strategically block the field. Point to put it simply. Now that Thunderbird and Sea Beast is off, the opponent just lost a Thunderbird and Sea Beast that has almost no skill preparation progress and is still physically exhausted. Also lost part of the skill preparation progress. As a battle type trainer, Eminem is very competent. Little Wolf. On the field, the battle didn't stop at this time, and Arduin, who was under the 2 stages of physical attack, became more powerful. At this time, he was even more excited to fight 2 against 1. Coconut Egg Tree also hops left and right, try to seize all the opportunities of the opponent's mistakes, and use the power of thought to create opportunities for Arduin. Thunderbird Dragon was a little faster. When the skills were ready, the Little Wolf, who was already in a hurry, did not choose to change. Eliminate them first. But I saw Coconut Egg Tree rushing forward without hesitation at this time, and Super Armored Rhinoceros, which was more than a lap bigger than Coconut Egg Tree, although the position was not flexible at this time. It was wretched hidden behind the coconut tree. It was the Coconut Egg Tree that had been prepared for a long time, and it carried the Dragon Wave alive, because Thunderbird Sea Beast is not in good condition. The activities of Coconut Egg Tree are almost unlimited, and it has long been preparing to take over skills. After this Dragon Wave, the situation of the Coconut Egg Tree is not good, but because the Thunderbird and Sea Beast coercion has been done before, the skill storage has fallen back a bit. At this time, the Coconut Egg Tree is ready to complete the skill first. Immediately afterwards, there was a Flying Leaf Storm, which took away the Thunderbird Sea Beast, who was in poor condition, and made the Thunderbird Sea Beast, who was almost ready for its skills, faint and fall to the ground. Thunderbird and Sea Beast lost its fighting power. Please replace the Pokémon immediately. The referee also announced anxiously at this time. As the referee of the gymnasium, he has already seen Eminem's intentions. Coconut Egg Tree doesn't care about his own damage, and he doesn't care about the backlash of Flying Leaf Storm. From a tactical analysis, this is the Super Armored Rhino preparing to clear the field because of the effect of Magic Space. Although Super Armored Rhinoceros is the slowest, in fact it is also closely followed by the completion of skill preparation. At this time, the Little Wolf had just taken back the fainting Thunderbird Sea Beast and sent a cute looking Malubek, which is the electric mouse, in the gala area. Before anyone can see clearly, I saw Super Armored Rhinoceros at this time. His fists touched his chest, and he slammed into the ground. Immediately, with the Super Armored Rhinoceros as the center, the field suddenly sank in a circle, and then an invisible fluctuation, accompanied by the rhythmic tremors of the ground, spread in all directions. The onlookers quickly asked their Pokémon to help protect it. It's actually okay off the court. After all, the distance is far away. However, in the battlefield, Thunderbird Dragon, who is no longer in the best condition, Malabiko, who just came out and doesn't know what's going on, and Coconut Egg Tree, who has been prepared for a long time, at the same time being attacked by the Earth's fluctuations. Oops. The referee grinned. This venue is usually used to challenge gymnasiums with 5 or 6 badges. Although it won't collapse after this one, it will have to be renovated later. Chapter 175 Resort. The elite level Super Armored Crazy Rhinoceros, after 2 stages of physical attack, incentive, 1 shot of earthquake, even the opponent and teammates, take away all of them directly. Even this venue on the 3rd floor, it gives people a crumbling feeling. Thunderbird, Dragon, Marubek, and Coconut Egg Tree have lost their combat effectiveness. Please replace the Pokémon as soon as possible, the referee said, looking at the field that had been cleared. At this time, the Little Wolf raised his hand and said, the gymnasium abstains. The Referee looked at him and continued to announce without surprise. The gymnasium admits defeat. The challenger wins. It's meaningless to continue fighting, and more importantly, Little Wolf has no other Pokémon that can be labeled as electric. Can't let him take out the Glitch Thiosaur to represent the electric gym. After the two parties take back the Pokémon, it is said that they will go to the field and have a friendly handshake. At this time, the Little Wolf still said arrogantly, "Is this the trainer's way of fighting? It's very good. At least it's very good on the battlefield." It is true that Zyro Lang has never seen any trainers, and he has just debuted not long ago. During his time at the Withered Leaf Gym, he only met other newcomers, and there was no tactically matured trainer like Eminem. By the way, you didn't study at Hogwarts, right? Eminem asked curiously. Little Wolf, when I was eating just now, Eminem thought more and more that something was wrong. The Little Wolf looked younger than himself, only 16 or 17. Eminem remembers that in Harry Potter, Hogwarts entered at the age of 12 and graduated in 7 years. I don't know if Hogwarts has a different academic system or he didn't graduate. I call it graduation early. Little Wolf choked out a sentence through his teeth. Eminem was stunned when he heard the words. It seems that the school system of Hogwarts has not changed. But in Zyro Lang's eyes, no matter how he looked at his face, he was saying, "Isn't that still a dropout? When are you going to the Chengdu area?" Little Wolf asked seriously. "It must be after the rookie competition in Kanto." Eminem said, "Of course. No matter how interested in Clo cards, Eminem has to participate in the rookie competition first. After all, it is related to whether his golden finger can be upgraded." Rookie contest. Zyro Lang repeated the word, then smiled slightly. "It's okay. It's not too long anyway. I'll take part in it and have a try." You're not convinced?" Eminem pretended to be surprised and asked back, but the Little Wolf had already turned and left. Eminem smacked his lips at this moment, not sure if he was losing or gaining just now. It was definitely not the real strength of the Little Wolf, and even the last Malubek felt entirely because of the electric system that fit the theme of the gymnasium. So it was released. Although he got the 5th badge, but added a strong opponent to the rookie competition. But Armu thought about it again. No matter how strong the Little Wolf is, he should not be as strong as Badger. If he can deal with Badger, he will naturally have a way to deal with the Little Wolf. At this moment, Armu saw the little guide coming, nodded to Armu, said hello, and approached Zyro Lang, as if to tell him that the owner of Jin Pavilion could see him. It seems that Jin, the condition of the owner's electric shock monster, has stabilized after taking medication. After that, Eminem and Zyro left the gym. When I went downstairs, I heard that the 203 venue on the 2nd floor, the ceiling lights were all off just now. Hearing that, the two walked faster. After receiving Eminem's badge, they immediately returned to the Pokémon Center. In the evening, Eminem recorded his observations about magic in his diary. After carefully reviewing today's battle, he also had some guesses about magic. However, because there are too few samples, the understanding is not even superficial. From the current point of view, it is difficult for Eminem to see any advantages of wizard over trainer. Although the coyotes were vaguely dissatisfied, Eminem also thought that if it was an actual battle in the field, unless the wizard itself had combat power, wouldn't the wizard's Pokémon be better than the trainer's Pokémon? Rely on command, then bring the painting hammer and give him a seal release on his head. Wouldn't everything be solved? Magic should have some special advantages, but Eminem didn't taste too much after a few tastes today. The details need to be further observed, and Eminem is also looking forward to the trip to the city. Early the next morning, Eminem and Zyro took the train to Lamperky Point. Lamperky Beach Resort is located on the outskirts of Kauai City, and theoretically it is also a part of Kauai City. It is a well-known resort area. When it was first established, it was named to correspond to Rampa City in West Kanto. Because I didn't book a train too early, it was already afternoon when I arrived at the beach of Lamperky Resort by the train in the morning and the train at the arrival station. But as soon as they got out of the car, Eminem and Zyro felt a holiday atmosphere. It has a completely different atmosphere from the busy port of Cuba City. At first glance, There are not two tall buildings, they are all seaside hotels, and this time Zyarksha's small hotel phobia did not attack at all, because there were people coming and going everywhere. Point at this time, if there is a ghost that will appear, Eminem will feel that it will spoil the atmosphere without wearing a swimsuit. Zyarksha. Armu. Yuanzi waved not far away. Knowing the time when Armu and Zyarksha arrived, Sonoko specially came to pick them up, and Zyarlan and Conan were also nearby. At this time, both of them were wearing long-sleeved sweaters, but judging from the unzipped zippers of the garden, there were swimsuits for the two of them inside. The beach is not far from here, so the two of them should have put on a coat and came here. As for Conan, who cares what he wears now? Sonoko's leopard print swimsuit has its fringe on it. It is estimated that the whole set is in this color. Zyarlan's swimsuit can be seen to be blue. Eminem didn't even look at it, but he already felt Conan's gaze. Zyarlan seemed to be restrained and said hello to Mew and Zyarksha. Conan unexpectedly also looked enthusiastic, calling brother Mew. When he saw Mew, before Eminem could be confused, Conan had already started to jump and cover his crotch, pulling Eminem and shouting, "Toilet, toilet, people want to shush. Brother Eminem, take me there, Slim. Shady, is this the only excuse you have, Conan?" Zyarlan said helplessly upon seeing this. "Don't you know where the bathroom is? Forget it, I'll go with him. I just want to go too." Seeing that Conan was in such a hurry, Armu had no choice but to follow along. "Sorry, I'll trouble you then," Zyarlan said shyly. Zyarlan is also very strange. Usually Conan is very obedient. Why does he start to urinate frequently when he sees Emu and he see? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.